I hereby call the Brockton School Committee to order, it being Tuesday, May 7th, 7 p.m. in the year 2024. We are at the Dr. William H. Arnone Theater at the Arnone School, which is 135 Belmont Street here in Brockton, 02301. I'd like to read into the record the following. Dear visitors, welcome to the meeting of the Brockton School Committee. This is the agenda that will be discussed this evening. Please note that hearing of visitors is included. Mrs. Campbell has given me the sign-in, and again, it's up to 3 minutes for public comment. If you have a statement or question, please give your name to the secretary, which has already been achieved. In addition to attending tonight, the public can view this meeting via television on Comcast Channel 8 and also the 1071 HD version, and online via the following link, which is www.youtube.com/TheBrocktonChannels. At this time, I would respectfully ask everybody stand, and we'll salute our American flag over on the right, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. At this time, I will establish a formal quorum. Mr. Gomes.
Anthony. Looking for Anthony.
Mrs. Sullivan is here. Ms. Oliver.
Here.
Mr. Vega.
Here.
Vice Chair Rodriguez.
Here.
Ms. Azak.
Here.
Mr. Sullivan.
Here.
I'm here as well. Dr. Cobbs is here as well, serving as clerk of the school committee. We have established a quorum. We have saluted the flag. Agenda 1 has been completed. We will now go on to Agenda 2. And again, I will read this in. Pursuant to school committee policy, each person requesting to speak shall be allotted a maximum of 3 minutes. Since this period is limited to 15 minutes, a total of 5 people shall be permitted to speak on a first-come, first-served basis. Tonight we've had 2 individuals sign in. The first individual is Eric Thomas of Dayton, Massachusetts, who I just met. Mr. Thomas, if you could come over to the podium. And again, you have 3 minutes, sir. Thank you. Oh, he's not here. Good evening, sir.
Stands for, thank you. Should I start over?
I would.
Hello. Thank you all for being here tonight, and thank you for the opportunity to speak here. I am speaking on the behalf of the Critical and Analytical Thinking course put together by George Brickhouse. I will be a member of a 5-man team. As I am alone tonight, I will speak for myself. I represent Ironheart Academy, a group which studies fitness, finance, politics, religion, and survival, among other things. And my entire aim to bring to the team is to meet kids where they are, rather than force them to fit into a specific curriculum. What I do personally is work with individuals one-on-one and allow them to express what it is they're dealing with, what it is they need to learn, and what it is they're interested in. And from there, it's always individual. What my team and I were here to ask for tonight is the opportunity to, I believe, start with Brockton After Dark and have ourselves somehow placed into that where we can provide some value to the children here. I cannot speak for any other member of the team at this time. However, I don't feel there is much more I need to say. This is more of a time for action than it is for words anyway. Again, I would like to thank you all for being here tonight and for this opportunity to speak.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you.
The next hearing visit is Mr. Jed Resco, please. Jed, good evening.
Good evening. Good evening, Mayor, Mr. Vice Chair, the rest of the committee. My name is Jed Horesco. I'm a parent here in Brockton. I live downtown. I'm here specifically about Brockton Community Schools and the summer camp. I hope I'm here. Hope my speaking is a moot point, but that's not clear to me at this point. Just some background, which sort of established my empathy for the situation you're in. So I've run large federal grants that did youth programs. I get the sort of awkwardness of summer programming starting right on July 1st when the fiscal year starts. I also worked for a nonprofit that ran a very popular summer camp, in which the parents were breaking down our doors at April 1st, but we didn't get our decisions from foundations until May and June. So we had to make a very hard decision as to, can we commit to signing your kids up? Because that's a very important promise that we make to the parents. So that said, and the other part of my background is I used to work for Boston Community Centers, now known as Boston Centers for Youth and Families, but originally was started out as Boston Community Schools. So very similar setup, an outgrowth of the school system providing community centers. So my daughter has been in the community schools summer camp here the last 3 years, the basketball program, gymnastics, swimming, and also some of the swim stuff during the school year. And I've been thoroughly impressed about how well run that camp is and how community schools is. And I think her name's Gina. I love the woman how she oversees the swim program and all of that. So as you can imagine, I'm a bit concerned about when the budget will be passed so that we as parents can sign up for summer camp. And then number two, if there's any danger of radical things happening, like the program being cut back tremendously, or fees being doubled, or all those kind of things, obviously we as parents need to know that as soon as possible. I think any of you who are parents, who have been parents in the past, you know that once you're into May, you start getting nervous, and May 15th, very nervous about signing your kids up for anything this summer, and after June 1st, it's sort of all bets are off as parents. So I thank you, and I hope, again, my point is sort of a moot point, but I'm hoping you can balance those two extremes of what you need to do fiscally and as public servants with also the needs of us as parents. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Judge. Have a good evening. Thank you. All right. That does conclude hearing of visitors. Agenda item 2. We will go on to agenda item 3, which is the report of Superintendent of Schools, Dr. James Cobbs. Just for the minutes to reflect, the members of the committee, Anthony, our student representative, was not able to join us tonight. Dr. Cobbs, please.
Thank you. Good evening. First, we'll do the update from TJ Plant from Open Architects.
How's everybody doing tonight?
Good evening, TJ.
We can hear you.
So I actually don't have much of an update other than the fact that we are well underway with fiscal 25 budget planning and execution. I know there's going to be some information presented tonight, but last week there was a report or a vacancy list of positions that were looking to be filled by licensed Masters plus 5, I believe, positions, and just kind of as a way to guide. But I think the number was reported 12 to 14 million. Upon reconciliation, the vacancy list is around 5.2 million, and I'm not sure if Trish is there to speak to it, because I know her analyst did that, the work. Okay, great. So if she needs to speak to it, but we're well underway. I know there's been a lot of moving pieces and a lot of moving parts, and I know we're up against it time-wise, but we are making tremendous progress on fiscal 25's budget. Happy to take any questions, or Dr. Cobbs, if anything you want me to cover in particular, but I think we are heading in the right direction.
Thank you, Mr. Plant. Mr. Committee, any questions from Mr. Plant at this time? Mr. Sullivan, please.
I am.
Fiscal year 24, is there a deficit at that as well?
So fiscal year 24, we are underway of reconciling and closing out any deficits that exist on the school side. There's 10 million set aside in other than personal services, and then there's roughly 15 million of grant whether it's ESSER, circuit breaker, other funding sources that we are now reclassing expenses against those to close out fiscal 24. However, the only risk that I caution the committee or caution is anything that might be non-net school spending eligible related to transportation that may not be able to be put on the circuit breaker. And I'm working closely with Troy on those to make sure that everyone's on the same page as it relates to that.
Just one follow-up question. The fiscal 25, are you pretty well set with that as far as the deficit on fiscal year 25?
Great question. Fiscal 25, we're still putting together the final pieces of the puzzle, if you will, of the requests. I think we'll know more later this week as I meet with Dr. Cobbs and his cabinet and kind of go through a little bit more detail of some of the positions. I know there's some vacant positions, and then there's a list of new positions, and then trying to figure out an all funds budget and to make sure that we match up all the different funding sources to the needs of the Brockton Public Schools.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Sullivan. Any other questions at this time? Just point of information, myself, the Vice Chair, Dr. Cobbs, Trish, Troy Clarkson, Megan Bridges, the solicitor, and TJ, we continue to meet on a regular basis with Zooms. Again, as you recall, a week ago, last week, on Wednesday, we had another Zoom with DOR, with A&F Secretary Gorkowitz, Lieutenant Governor Driscoll. We will be meeting again with them on the 23rd collectively. So we just had a meeting yesterday, another Zoom yesterday. So when TJ says it's a work in progress, it's a work in progress. So we are truly working together on this. I did speak to the Vice Chair. Remember, I had said last week, be ready for some special meetings. I will be calling as Chair a special meeting next Wednesday, not Tuesday, next Wednesday, the 15th. We need to continue to meet relative to the budget. We will be meeting here in the Arnone, and it'll be at 6 o'clock. Ms. Oliver.
Negotiation with BASPA on that day.
I can't hear you.
We have a negotiation that day on May 15,
What time?
5:30.
Negotiations going to have to be canceled.
If 6 o'clock doesn't work for people, I can call it a little later. But I will tell you this, time is of the essence. The President of the City Council, Moses Rodriguez, has already defined Monday the 17th. Budgets will start the 18th of June, June 17th, which is a Monday. June 18th will be dedicated to the schools. Like I said, Moses is calling one night. So the 18th of June, which is a Tuesday, will be the school budget night. The 19th is a federal holiday, Juneteenth, we will not be meeting. And then the President will also be having the 20th on Thursday, and if needed, the 24th, which is Monday. So we already know when the budget's going to happen, and we collectively, Dr. Cobbs, Trish, this committee, and myself, we have to get our numbers finalized. I believe we're close with 227 for net and about 18 or so for non-net. So we're doing okay, but a meeting next week would be extremely important. We're not an agenda item yet that I want to talk about, but Dr. Cobbs and Trish have been working with TJ. So at that time, any other questions for Mr. Plantis this time? But we also have Trish Boyer here as well. Anything for TJ? Good evening, Mr. Plant. Have a good night. Oh, I'm sorry. A follow-up. Do you have one? Follow-up then. Oh, for Trish.
Yeah.
Okay. Yes.
Oh, sorry.
I'm right behind you.
I was just wondering about the grants. We talked about it at the last meeting, and there was still some more you had to do. How is that coming?
Yes, we're making progress with those as well. Every day we get a few more done, so maybe I can give you the updated list in the next meeting.
Okay,
Yep,
thank you.
you're welcome.
Any questions again for Mr. Plant? None. Any questions now for Ms. Boyer? I just want to let you know why Mr. Clarkson's not here. I testified before the Ordinance Committee meeting tonight. They took me out of order. He needs to stay. So he's at City Hall right now on some ordinance matters that are relative to the budget with the city councilors. Thank you, Trish. Thank you, TJ. We'll continue with the agenda item, please.
Thanks, everyone.
Is there a reason we can't have it on Tuesday, the 14th?
Yes, I can't be there.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Okay. Maybe I just,
Yes, the chair
Okay.
cannot be there that night.
okay, thank you. Oh, lights back on?
I think, where is that? I'm sorry, Claudia.
No, TJ mentioned.
Yeah, I think she's gonna talk a little bit down on 5, agenda 5, I think. Isn't that where she's
Okay,
gonna talk?
all right, that's
I
fine.
think so,
Yeah, that will do.
Yeah. We'll continue with agenda item 3D.
So next agenda item would be community schools, summer programs. Dr. DeBarros is here to discuss and present.
Joyce, which one?
Dr. DeBarros Montero.
Which leg did you have? I think so.
You have a
I think
presentation?
she's in person.
Yes. Well, she has this packet as well. Are you going to do a presentation or just a packet?
I'll have a presentation,
So,
very
yeah,
quick.
Joyce.
Oh, I'm sorry. Perfect.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Thank you for Thank you for having me here tonight. It's my pleasure to come and talk about the summer program. It's a brief overview. You already have the packets. You got the catalog printed as well. So, these are the offerings that we'll have. But first, I want to thank the gentleman that came up and spoke about community schools. So we thank you, and all the parents who are worried about the summer program, and we thank you for the accolade as well. So the summer programs this year, we're starting on July 1st, and the program is running with extended day until August 16th. Most of the programs will be done by July 31st. So we'll have 4 full weeks of programming Monday through Friday, and most programs will be running until 12 o'clock. Some of them will run until 2:30, and we have a couple that will run until 4. Okay, so there's a total right now of 19 programs. 16 of them are fully funded, as you can see from the packet, and I'll go through the packet. I'm here tonight because I'm asking for funding for 3 very important programs that we would like to run, that we have run, and I think it's important for us to run them again. But the other 16, I just want to make clear that we have money allocated for those programs, and that even includes extended day that we have on hold right now for registrations, because we need your approval to move on, okay? So we'll have a total of 19 programs and over 2,000 students during those weeks. These are programs that are very self-sustaining. These are programs that are they're fee-based. There's a fee to them, but again, I want to remind you that it's a nominal fee, or it's a very, or some of them are free, but I'll talk about those later on. But the nominal fee, we have some of these programs. I'll just mention a couple that were just mentioned a few minutes ago. Youth Aquatics, a big one. Raise Up Basketball is a big hit. Mr. Rodriguez has been there several times. The mayor has been there several times as well. We have Smart Start Extended Day that has about 500 students that we serve, and Get Ready program, which has lots of little programs within that big program. So students can go, they can go for swimming, they can do, last year we did boxing, we can do taekwondo, they have soccer, and so forth and so on. So there are many programs, little programs within that big program. For 21st Century, again, this is grant funded, so the money has been allocated for this. We have about $350,000 that covers all of these programs. And these are free programs for students. We cannot charge anything because it's grant funded, okay? And again, the money has been allocated. So it's a total of $350,000, and we have 5 programs, and those programs cover elementary and middle school, okay? So we have programs like Power Scholars. That will be at the Baker School, and we'll have about 120 students. Engineering, that will be at South Middle School, and 60 students, and so forth and so on, and you can see some of that, okay? Free programs, these are programs that are sponsored by, not grants, but by other partners. So the Step Up and Study program, we actually, in conjunction, in partnership with the Bilingual Office, we have 2 more programs that we're not listing as programs run by community schools, but there will also be 3 programs by students that Educational Divide Reform is working on with us. So a partnership of 3 programs. However, we are going to run the Step Up Study and Fun, which has been a program that everyone loves. We open it up. In about 24 hours, it's full, okay? Because students go, they have academics, they have math, they have literacy, but they also have enrichment activities, and who doesn't want that? So you have the best of both worlds. So that it will run at South Middle School. It will be totally paid by Educational Divide Reform. So that program is $65,000, and it will run Monday through Friday until 12, okay? New this year, and I want to thank Dr. Spalding for that as well, and Dr. Julianne Andrade, is new this year we have Bright Beginnings, which is a program for preschool students. We haven't had that through community schools. So we plan on enrolling 200 students. We'll have 2 sessions of 100 students each, 10 days of programming, everything included. And this program will run Monday through Friday, and it will be from 8 o'clock in the morning until 2:30 in the afternoon. And this is for little ones to get them ready for kindergarten. Okay, so, and this program will cost us $190,000 for the whole month. And that's completely covered by the grant from CPPI, which is Commonwealth Preschool Partnership Initiative. So this, again, is fully covered. So these are the programs that fall within those 16 programs that I told you that money has been allocated for. So we have money for all of those. Now, funding needed. We need funding, and I know you talked about it last week. We need funding for 3 programs. And those 3 programs, I'm standing here tonight, and I'm asking you to approve this funding for these programs because these 3 programs are very important to our community. The first one is Camp Impact. We have about 60 students who enrolled in the program last year. It's a program for at-risk students. And these students will get mentorship during the whole month. So they will talk about leadership. They will talk about how to relate with other people, with other students, how to have relationships with other students, how to engage in schooling. So they will have mentors that work for Brockton Public and also volunteers going in and meeting with them and helping them. In the meantime, they will also have enrichment activities. So it's a very valuable and valued program. So that's why I'm standing here asking you for that. Footbridge is another wonderful program. I don't know if you have been able to visit Bridgewater State University during the summer, but this is actually a luxury program. How many of our students have the opportunity of getting on the bus, and going to Bridgewater State University and spending 2 straight weeks there, a program for free, and then they go and they are taught by faculty from the university who volunteer their hours, so that they can teach our students about STEAM, science and art and math and everything else. So it's a program that is excellent. And Bridgewater will cover 75% of the costs. We will only cover 25%. And that 25% that I'm asking for is about $18,000. That's it. Okay? So it's a great program. It's great for our students, and to be honest with you, if we could run it for the whole month, I would be down for that, because it's very, very important. The other program is Launch Academy. It's a huge program that makes a huge difference. We've done it for 2 years at Angelo Elementary School, and that program is for 100 students. If we could do more, we would do more. And that's for students in the Launch Academy. That's for newcomers. That's for students who are learning English, and they don't have the opportunity, as we know, during the school day to practice language that much. So they will have the conversational language through Reader's Theater. So they will learn pieces of like theater pieces, and then they will perform. They will recite them. They will work in groups. And it's wonderful. And then at the end, they put on a show. So it's through Reader's Theater. It's a wonderful program, and it's highly successful. We did it last year. We would like to do it again. So these 3 programs, even though I'm asking for funding, I just want to make clear that you know, and I know that Ms. Boyer also alluded to that last week. I wanted to know that it's part of FY24. So money has been allocated for these programs already. So I'm asking for funding, but the funding is already there because you approved it last year. Okay? Also, I have additional staffing there, and that's because we believe in creating programs that are sustainable, that are consistent, that we know, that parents know that whenever they send their kids and whenever their kids are under our supervision, that we have all the resources, not only to teach them, but to make sure that they're safe. So the additional staffing is for school adjustment counselors. We believe that we should have at least one per building to work within those programs. And we've had cases where they were very highly needed, more than one, to be honest with you. We need administrative assistance because what we're trying to do is use as fewer buildings as possible. So of course we need someone in the office so that the supervisors can actually supervise and do their work and teachers can do their work. We also would like to have nurses in every single building. We've done that in the past, and that's very successful. So we need to make sure that we have people who understand and who can come and help. And also very successful have been the help from the bilingual facilitators, bilingual advocates. As you know, in our Brockton community, we need people who speak different languages so that we can reach out to the community, so that parents know. And these bilingual facilitators have not only translated, but they have helped with the registration. They have been to people's houses to register their kids. So that's why I put that in there as part of the additional staffing that would cover for all the 19 programs, okay? So that is very important. And just to close up, again, you have the catalog. Just to let you know, the catalog has been done since the beginning of April. We had promised the parents that we would send it out on April 22nd. So I just want to make it aware that we are behind in registrations. And like we say, and I want to thank the office, my office colleagues for being here tonight and for supporting the community schools and for all the work that they do. I want to tell you that we use an analogy in the office, which is getting ready for the summer is like planning a wedding. So you spend months doing it. We usually start the beginning of January. You prepare for months, and then it comes and it goes, and it's just like that. And we just want the summer to stay. But again, I believe in planning. I believe in organization. I believe in consistency. So if we do a good job of planning, things will go well. So that's why I'm here asking for your approval tonight, because this is important. We're already late. We're 3 weeks behind already, and there's a lot to be done before we start on July 1st. And I would like to invite you on July 1st, 2nd, or 3rd, whenever you can, just come and visit the programs. I know you will be happy with what you see. It makes us happy to see kids happy. It makes us happy to see staff happy. And I could talk about community schools and summer programs all year long. So any questions?
Any questions at this time? Mrs. Sullivan, please.
Dr. DeBarros, for I love your presentations, no matter how many times I hear them. I know you did say that last year we voted on the budget for this. So I just wanted to ask Trish Boyer, because we know last year's budget is in question. So I think we should ask if we're still, have this funding. Is this, can we still do this?
So I understand that these programs will run in July. Is that correct? Yes. So July 1st begins FY25 budget. So our June 30th budget ends, our FY24 budget ends June 30th. So the funding that we have budgeted in FY24 cannot carry over into FY25 to cover these items, because that's right when the fiscal year splits.
Okay, thank you.
Trish, just to piggyback that, when the 24 budget was passed and enacted July 1, those funds would have been utilized at that time for last summer.
Correct.
Yes.
It should have been
Okay.
for last summer.
Okay, great, thank you. Ms. Oliver? Mr. Gomes first, please.
I was just going to ask, is the transportation included in the 225, or is it additional?
No, it's in addition. Usually we get transportation.
300, that's what I was, okay, just to make sure.
Right.
Any other, Ms. Azak, followed by Mr. Vega, please?
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. DeBarros. As always, beautiful presentation. I know a lot of families are excited about this. It does help them financially. It's a financial burden sometimes. A lot of these camps are very expensive. So I know that it's at $2,000. So how do they submit something as far as like income guidelines for those that are getting the free program, or is it just first come, first serve?
First come, first served.
Okay. All right.
And I
then-
have,
Oh, and I was just going to say, I know over the years, we've had a lot of issues, tragedies with students not knowing how to swim. So I know that was one thing over the years that we said we always wanted to make sure we offered that. Because we do, we do have the tragedies. A lot of kids just don't know how to swim. So I noticed that that was on there as well. How many students is that for? Offhand, do you know?
as many as we can have,
Okay.
to be honest with you. We have lifeguards, trained lifeguards that work with us all year long, and also now in May, end of May, we're going to train some more lifeguards that can work for us and can work for the city, and so that they can be there.
Perfect.
Last year, I don't know if you remember, we got a grant, a water safe grant,
Mhm.
and we used that to open the pool so that people could come for free and learn how to swim. So we did that all year long last year.
Perfect.
Okay.
Perfect. No, thank you again.
You're welcome.
Mr. Vega, please.
First, I just want to say I got the opportunity to sit in on your presentation with CPAC last week. Your passion for the programs is clear, it's present. The response that I saw from parents was incredible. The question I have, so we're asking for funding for these 3 programs. How were they funded last year?
We had a partnership with the bilingual office. So the launch program, the first year, it was covered by the grant that Kelly Jones had. The second year, we picked that up. Community schools did. So we paid for that program. We also paid for the other 2. Okay, but this year, we're asking that not community schools, but local funding be used for that program, for those programs.
And this is a clarifying question, I guess, for the committee. So if I'm understanding it correctly, because of the timing of the summer programs, so for instance, this summer would be a 24-25 fiscal.
25.
Oh, 25, okay.
Anything after July 1, 25.
25, okay, so 25 fiscal year, right? So you're asking for approval against this 25 budget?
Yes.
Okay, yeah. All right, and so funds from the 24 budget were what fed last July?
Last summer.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, just want to make, okay, got it.
Just point of information, the evening swimming lessons, the Brockton After Dark is paid out of the mayor's office, the youth funding that we have. We are having an issue, if anybody's watching or anybody here, we have not been able to hire, Brockton Community Schools has not been able to hire pool managers for the Manning Pool. We need to have 2 pool managers. It's a state pool, but under Mayor Harrington, it's, the city runs that pool. East Side Pool, Cosgrove Pool will be reopened, brand new in July as well. Ms. Oliver, please.
Quick question. So the budget that was allocated for this program, even though it's starting in July, so what happened to that funding? If we're not using it, so what happened to the funding that we had?
So in any account that is not used by June 30th, it gets reallocated to other things. For instance, if we're short in other areas, payrolls, other accounts, it gets absorbed by other accounts.
Does this program usually starts in July, or has it started in June before?
2 years ago, we started in June, but because of when the school is, the school will be over, and we need a week, 10 days to prepare and train people and get the supplies, we're starting this year in July. But we have started on June 26th before. And next year, we'll start on June 30th.
So how do we, Trish, go about, I mean, this is a great program. I had my kids 2 years ago on it, and they loved it. It was just difficult because they ended early, so as a working mom, it was hard for me to leave work and go pick them up coming from Boston. And I know my kids are looking forward. My daughter's already looking at it to do it. But, so how do we go about, like, that we have money if we have not figured out FY '25? Like, we want to, get this program going, especially getting parents ready to register, because summer's coming, they got to figure out what they're going to do for summer with their kids.
Right, so that's one of the things that you have, as a committee, will have to balance out. If you want to spend the $335,000 for that program versus what the other needs of the district are. And we're still putting the FY25 budget together. Ultimately, I think it's your decision if we fund it or not.
Thanks.
Mr. Gomes, please.
To clarify, I'm a bit lost right now because in our last meeting, it was said that the budget had been allocated in the FY24 budget book, and it was there for use. That's what I remember. I recall being told. But you just mentioned that for the past 2 years, you guys found other source of funding.
Last year, what we did, yes, because we never got that money into
Okay.
community schools account. That's the reason why I'm standing in front of you tonight.
Okay.
That money
So-
was never moved over to us, and I have had several meetings with the superintendent and with the cabinet, and I have explained that, I have said
Okay.
that.
So what happened to that money? Did we allocate it to something else? Because I was under the impression we still had it there available.
It is still there and it is still available, but where the funding for FY24
It
is
won't.
very tight, it's probably going to be absorbed in something else, or perhaps even put back into the community schools to support some of the programs that they've had. So it will get used one way or another this year.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
Mr. Sullivan, followed by Mrs. Sullivan, please.
Nice presentation, Soraya.
Thank you.
My question was already asked, but I just wanted to say, it was an excellent presentation, and I love it when you come here. Presented it excellent.
Thank you.
Thank
I
you.
appreciate it.
Thank you, Mr.
We
We
Sullivan.
love what we
Mrs.
do,
Sullivan,
thank
please.
you.
So just to clarify, so that money there for the footbridge and the things, that is only for those programs, but we have money for all the other programs?
Yes, we do.
Okay.
All the other programs are covered. I'm only here, like I gave you a very brief overview because I know you have a lengthy agenda, but I only gave you a brief overview of the programs, but we need funding for the three.
For these
And
three?
those are those three. It's Camp Impact, Footbridge, and Launch Academy. And again,
Okay.
those are for different populations, and I want to make the case that these programs are needed.
Yes, like all the programs. I mean, they're great programs. Thank you.
And I
Dr.
have to
Barrett.
say as well, and that goes back to Ms. Joyce's question, we are the cheapest in town.
Yep.
We're the cheapest around. And we've done our research. My team has done the research. And we've checked all kinds of programs around us, and we are cheap. And I also want to say, Ms. Oliver, and to other parents out there, if parents are looking for programming in the afternoon as well, let's say that they go to a camp that ends at 12, they can still enroll in extended day, and we will transport them for the first time ever. So we'll get them, for example, from the Baker and bring them to the Arnone. The Arnone is our school for extended day, so parents can decide to go with extended day, or they can do junior boxer until 4 o'clock in the afternoon. How about that for an advertisement?
Just point of information to the committee, so if you consider this a priority, which I do, right, when we support it as a committee, it's an individual support, but the number of 300 and whatever thousand needs to be factored in when we finally take a vote, when Trish and Dr. Cobbs and the cabinet articulate a final budget to us. We just have to keep that figure in mind if we choose to support this, because when we ratify the approved budget, again, it's approved by us, but the final approval is the city council, right? Again, they'll hear it on Tuesday, June 18th. So if you believe, as a member of this committee, that this is a priority, this 300 and something thousand, just keep that in mind when we continue the budget process, because if we're going to use 300 grand to support this, which I think we should, we just have to figure out how to balance that to do our financial responsibilities. Mr. Vega, followed by Mr. Sullivan, please.
Yeah, so, and again, when I ask these questions, it's really about just building my own understanding. So, we're essentially making a decision on this money before we've made a decision on all monies. Right, okay. And I say that, I think this is a case where we have a clear commitment, a clear mandate from families to move forward with these programs. But I find it troubling that you have to be here because we don't have a budget set. And I recognize that that's, you know, I think we're doing better than we've done in the past, but I think this really highlights the need to have our ducks in a row earlier so that programs that are so important, that run on a different timeline than the schools as a whole, don't have to wait, you know. Or if there is going to be a change, that the doctor and her team would be well aware of it and be able to adjust.
And if I could add two things, my office has been working on this since January. So all of the work, all of the meetings, the hiring, the job ads were posted on March 1st. They closed on April 17th. People have been interviewed. People are just waiting to be placed. So all of the work has been done, and the catalog was supposed to go out on April 22nd, so that parents could start registering. So at this point, all we need to do is approve, with all due respect, and then so that we can share it with the parents, and they can start registering. Also, the fact that I'm standing here asking for funding, yes, it is unprecedented, because I always came here to present on the programs that we offered. So this is the first time that I have to ask.
Mrs. Sullivan, followed by the vice chair, please.
So we couldn't put out the catalog without these programs for now, or we'd have to have everything?
I think I would prefer for everything to be together so that parents have a choice. I think it's important for parents to have a choice of what is best for them. But again, we're only talking about $225,000, which compared to the whole budget is a small amount for what our students get. And summer is around the corner, so.
So a question for Dr. Cobbs. Dr. Cobbs, do you think that we would be able to do this? And I don't mean to put you on the spot, but what would we have to cut to do this? Or
That's an impossible question to answer right now, which is
I understand. That's
you know,
okay.
one for one, but you know, we would be able to incorporate into the budget. And
Okay, you have a,
that's just one of those things that we have to do. But you know, $225,000 is less than 1% of the budget.
okay. So that's important to know. Thank you, Dr. Cobbs.
Mr. Vice Chair, please.
Thank you, Dr.
You're welcome.
Barros Montero. Community schools is a wonderful program. All three of my children, and even the youngest one, was looking at the brochure. I think this should get a full support by this committee tonight. I don't think any child in the city of Brockton or family should be waiting because of fiscal irresponsibility on the school district and the city itself. Not just, everybody has shared blame in this. So what we're trying to approve tonight, so I can get this correct, is just 225.
Correct.
So that 105 is included in that 225?
That's transportation.
So you need an additional, so,
That's transportation expenses, $100,000.
okay. So there's two motions. So I will motion to approve $225,657.02 to fund the Camp Impact Footbridge Launch Academy additional staffing, and also $105,800.
You should do two separate votes on that.
Two separate, all right, we'll do the first vote.
Yeah, that's the form of a motion. Okay, motion, just for the record, motion was made by Vice Chair. I think it was a tie, but I'll give it to Ms. Azek, properly seconded. Everybody's here, nobody's on, so we could do either, what's the will of the committee? Want to do a roll call or hand vote? It doesn't really matter. We'll do a roll call. Properly seconded, I'll call the roll. Mr. Sullivan? Mr. Gomes?
Yes.
Ms. Oliver?
Yes.
Mr. Vega?
Yes.
Vice Chair?
Yes.
Ms. Azek?
Yes.
Mr. Sullivan?
Yes.
I'm a yes as well. So it does pass. Mr. Vice, do you have a?
I just have a question on the second motion before that's made.
Yep, motion hasn't been made yet, so you can ask that now, of course.
So on the, as far as the transportation, it says 15 buses at $336 a day for 21 days. Are those going to be full buses? I mean, I get a lot of calls. They're like, hey, I see the buses as a handful of kids on a huge bus. I just want to make sure, do we need the full 15 buses?
We will need somewhere between 12 and 15 buses, okay? But that depends on the number of students that will enroll, and it depends on the routes. So we'll be honest with you, our buses are full. Our buses are full, and that's why we house programs in a few buildings so that we can save on the building use and also on the busing. And we have to tell you that the transportation department does a great job of making sure that the routes are done properly. Okay?
And I know that the 336, now is that our price to rent those buses? That's the lowest we can go, because we're in-house, okay? No, definitely. I know there's the salaries, the fuel. Okay, I just wanted to make sure that, so worst case scenario, 15 buses could be less, but 15.
Right.
And those are 15 large buses?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Before we take the motion, again, on the transportation costs, that's considered a non-net school spending cost. So we do, I don't know if we want to take the vote on the buses tonight, because Mr. Clarkson's not here. The non-net, as you know, goes back to the city side. So we would be taking a vote right now on the city side budget. The fact is, we voted to authorize and we support unanimously the summer programs. Programs can go out, parents can sign their kids up, but I do think that we're going to be having a meeting here next Wednesday. Mr. Clarkson already texted him, we'll be here. I don't think really we should vote on the buses yet because it's a non-net expense. That's accurate, right, Trish? It's a non-net expense going back to the city side. It's 105 grand, and I think the CFO should be here just so we can talk to him about that. If nobody objects, we took that vote. I would ask us respectfully to pause the second vote at this time, Mr. Vice Chair, but we will do that on Wednesday if nobody objects. But, Doctor, we're good to go with the program.
Excellent. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Mr. Vice Chair.
Just a point of information, usually she comes in end of March before the time date. I mean, obviously, it's unprecedented times now, so most of the stuff, we've never actually taken a vote because it's already been budgeted. So I know we're dealing with unprecedented times, but thank you, and looking forward to
visiting.
seeing it.
Absolutely.
Exactly. Please come in and see us in action.
He's going to be
Thank you
shooting
so
some
much.
three-pointers this year, he told me, so we're good to go.
We'll see how he does.
Yeah, exactly. Ms. Azak has a follow-up.
Dr. DeBarros, is this available online right now?
It will be.
Okay.
It will be tomorrow morning.
So can we have this available on our Brockton Public Schools social media pages so we
And
can
city-
share it?
city side too,
And
sure.
city side, just so, you know, I know it's first come, first served, but there's a lot of families that are waiting for this.
We're ready to go.
Thank you so much.
Okay, we were just waiting for this, so thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Vega, last question will be, or comment will be Vice Chair. Mr. Vega? Nothing?
My question's answered.
Okay, Vice Chair, please.
We are not making no hard copies to the families, everything is just digital online this year?
Everything is digital, exactly.
But we do have, are we going to have copies at the schools for families that don't have access to computers? Because I think we should have a short run
Should be in multiple languages as
in
well.
multiple languages. I mean, I'm not trying to put more work, but I mean, you do what you do. I know the camps get filled, but I just want to make sure that nobody is left. I know parents right now are waiting just to hit that sign-up button. because they're
Last
watching
year,
online.
thank you, you've seen the catalog. Last year, we put out a beautiful catalog, a beautiful book. Actually, parents have it as a keepsake because we only use pictures from our kids. So if you look at the pictures there, those are Brockton kids that we picture there. So people love it. And people have been calling our office asking when the catalog comes out. So it has been a tradition. So this year, in order to be cost effective, we have decided, along with the acting superintendent, we have decided that we would do a digital format, but we'll have it all over Facebook. People can come to our office. We are located at 365 Westgate Drive, Suite 10. They can come. We can help them register. We'll have the bilingual facilitators now that this is approved. They will be working for us. They will be in the schools. So make sure that people come to us and that we help them register. Okay, and the catalog will be shared tomorrow morning, but people will start registering on Monday because, again, we want to give everyone plenty of time to browse the catalog and then make a wise decision, an educated decision into what programs fit their families best.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you.
Next on the agenda is the update of DESE MOU and the Mass Core requirements for Brockton High School, presented by Deputy Superintendent Sharon Wolder.
Good evening.
So this one's a little more challenging for you. It's always exciting to hear the great things that kids will get to do during the summer. But we have some other things that we have to work on over the summer as well to get ready for next school year. And it is connected to our memorandum of understanding with the Department of Education and some of the mandates that are there. And so just going to go through with you one of the key mandates that we have to make sure we bring before you, because it does connect to policy, and not just policy, but graduation requirement policy, and the expectations of DESE going into next school year. So tonight, my purpose for being here is just to go over with you what is in that part of the MOU, not asking you to take a vote at this point, because on the 21st, we'll come back with some detailed information to help you see how the high school is planning to address the MOU, and how our data and accountability system is setting up so that people have the information that they need year by year in terms of courses, in terms of credits. And so we'll come back on the 21st with a more in-depth presentation for you regarding the mandate. And then in June, you would have to take the vote in order for us to be ready for September. So just to go quickly through it, as a result of the district review from 2020, Brockton Public Schools entered into a memorandum of understanding with the Department of Education. And some of the things outlined at that time regarded improvements that the district needed to make, and one of them was, at the time, a strategic plan or a district improvement plan, which is on the website, and it was set up for 5 years, so it is through 2020 by the time we finish creating the district improvement plan or strategic plan. It is through 2020. It also required some coaching, and so DESE set up coaching with CanBR Catalyst that came in and did some coaching with the superintendent and the executive team at that time. They also have the system-wide supports that they send out, and so we have DESE partners that are with us 2 to 3 times a month doing walkthroughs at our district instructional team meetings, and working directly with schools. That started then and has continued over the years. Funding for specific things, our TAG grant funding being an example of that, so that we can put some additional structures in places in schools where it's needed. Coaching, instructional and curriculum support with the GLEAM grant, and a lot of support when we were rolling out the curriculum for our elementary. And so they have been support partners throughout, and they've also added some mandates to it. Since 2020, when we entered into this agreement, at the time there were 11 schools in needs assistance status. When we started this school year, we were down to 6 schools in that status. And so we are hoping to have fewer schools in the status at the end of this year. And what it also requires is that the district does presentations to DESE twice a year and make sure that we keep the school committee updated. And so we have a presentation coming up in June that will be our second presentation with them, where we will have to give them updates on our district priority as well as the things in the MOU. Now, every year, if you noticed, I said in 2022 they made some edits to the memorandum. As we accomplish some things, they come off, and then other things get added in. And so it's a memorandum of understanding that we will be understanding each other for a very long time. I need you to be clear on that, because where we say check, it's done, with each meeting, there are new things that they really focus on and say, and now we need you to focus on this. So you will see that we have accomplished quite a few things, but then when we move into the memorandum of understanding that you received in February on the 8th through an email through Dr. Cobbs, and I do have a copy for you because I know you weren't with us February 8th, so I'll make sure you have that on your way out the door tonight. That memorandum of understanding added quite a few things to what it is looking for us to do. Some of them were carryovers from previous years. Other things were added this year. For example, the audit of the high school for safety. That was a this year add, which is at the bottom, and that audit has been done or is in the process of being done. So that was one of the things there. And Then looking at the whole list, you see that we have to do some work where we're doing a metric system for tracking our students with disabilities, taking ambitious steps for our English learners. We did the blueprint through DESE and have done a significant amount of work there. You see the one highlighted in red is the one that we're going to talk about tonight. And then you see that there are other things, evaluation system, making sure that everyone is evaluated every year as they are supposed to be, taking our ambitious steps in understanding high quality curriculum and instruction, which is that ongoing work that we've been doing. There's one for human resources listed there. There's one about the budget listed there. And so you can see that every year they're adding things based on, as they assess us, what they feel that we need to really target and work on for that school year. So with the memorandum of understanding for the ambitious steps to increase the four-year graduation rate for students with disabilities, with progress towards state rate of 76.6% from our current rate of 50.8%. If you notice, the bullets that follow that are very targeted towards students with disabilities, really putting in those supports, making sure that there are structures there, interventions, counseling, that we are making sure that our students with disabilities have access to classes that are in the honors and advanced placement and IB, and that they're supported in accessing those. But then you see one that is highlighted that is all students. And that one says that Brockton Public Schools for Brockton High School would implement the completion of Mass Core as a graduation requirement for first-time ninth graders starting in September of 2024. So that would be different. And so where it was, how do you get students with disabilities with our current graduation requirements graduating at a four-year rate higher than what we've had. They have now asked us to make a change to our graduation requirements for all students starting September of 2024. So what does that mean? And this is straight from the Department of Education. It means the expectation of 4 units of math. And units, it doesn't necessarily mean a full year, but it has to be an equivalent of full year of English, 4 units of math, 3 units of lab science, 3 units of history, 2 units of world language. Physical education is required by law every year. A unit in the arts and additional courses, units for additional courses. So what does ours currently look like? For Brockton High School, a minimum of 4 years of English is required. In mathematics, it's 3 years, not 4. In science, you have 2.5 years, which is 15 credits for us. And you can see at the bottom it explains the credit system. Social science, again, 2.5 years. Wellness every year. And then electives. And for us, we have world languages listed under electives. And so that would be where we have 26 credits in electives that would require 2 years or 2 units of those credits would be world language for students taking world language. Going back to that, though, you see there are some bulleted points at the bottom, and it clearly indicates that if our students are fluent in a language other than English, that we are able to assess them in a way that gives them credit for that. So, for example, if a student comes to us speaking Portuguese, and they're fluent and literate in Portuguese, but they are taking ESL classes, the ESL classes count as their English class, but we can assess them and give them credit for their fluency and literacy in Portuguese. And that's something that we do through the seal of biliteracy somewhat, but to the degree that we would need to do it for all students, that's an area of where we would have to do some work to make sure that we are crediting them according to their fluency and literacy so that they can be credited for leaving Brockton High School multilingual. And so there are things like that that we really have to make sure that as a district we're going back and thinking about how we're identifying courses and how we're saying the equivalent of a full-year course as a unit here, we are considering an equivalent, because some of the courses that we have are considered equivalents, even in the amount of time that they're meeting, where other things we would have to consider them differently. And so that's the work that the high school is doing with the courses. That's the work that our data and systems folks are doing in terms of how we are capturing that in Infinite Campus and creating that graduation plan that really shows how we will make sure that our students are progressing toward meeting Mass Core. We also have to consider we have a number of freshmen who go into high school and fail one or more courses, and so that credit recovery process that would have to happen early on to make sure that they don't get behind and then can't catch up to meet Mass Core is also part of the work that we have to make sure that we have in place. And so what does this look like for us? This would be new ninth graders. So if a student is in Brockton High School now, this does not relate to them. Any student who is in Brockton High School right now would still be meeting our current graduation requirements to get through high school. Anyone who is enrolling new to Brockton High School as a new freshman next year would have these as their graduation requirements, the Mass Core. So what does this mean for you as a committee? That means this is a policy change because graduation requirements are local requirements, and that's policy, so that would be you. So in order for us to move to Mass Core as a graduation requirement for our incoming ninth graders, you would have to vote on this no later than your end of your meeting on June 4th, because we have to communicate it to students and families before the school year is over. We need time over the summer to make sure we have everything in place and that the school has a chance during those orientations that they're planning to really work through with students what that looks like and what it means. And so we'll be back on the 21st, give you some more information, give you a chance to ask us more clarifying questions so that before you take a vote, one way or the other, before you take a vote, you have all your questions answered. So here's the timeline. I always give it to you just so you can get a sense of how we're moving through things. Again, this information came to you on February 8th. We've been dealing with a lot of things, so if you don't have it memorized, totally understand, which is why we bring it back to you and say this is where you can find it in more detail. I also brought a copy if anyone else needs it as well. Tonight, just going over with you that this is embedded in that MOU and is a requirement that we are expected to address with DESE. We meet with them on the 16th to give them an update on where we're at. So I'll be able to share with them that it's been brought to you tonight and that we're doing a follow-up with you on the 21st. Again, by the 4th, the end of that meeting, we will need you to take a vote so that we can move forward if this is the direction that Brockton Public Schools is going in. And we need to be able to communicate out to all parents. And then the high school will start doing some significant work in making sure our students coming in, our new ninth graders, know exactly what their expectations are. And at this point, I'll take any questions you have, and if I don't have the answer on the spot, we'll capture those and bring them back, the answers back to you on the 21st.
Any questions at this time? We'll start with Mr. Vega, please.
First off, thank you for this presentation, Ms. Woolen. I also like the highlight on the language credits that our students who walk in the door with fluency in another language. I think some school districts tout mathematics strength in their students, and we have citizens of the world in Brockton, and they're walking in our school doors every day, and those students come in with language levels that too many people dismiss and say, oh, they have to learn English, but they already have mastered a language and they're learning a second. And I don't think we really, as a city, tout that enough. But are you aware of how many other districts surrounding us have made the move to Mass Core?
There are some districts that have made some moves toward Mass Core. I will be honest with you. I think that because Brockton is in the MOU that we are in, other districts, we have always had to calculate Mass Core. How many of our students meet Mass Core? That's nothing new. as a graduation mandate, there aren't probably many schools that have that as a mandate at this point. It might be the direction that DESE is going in. We might be some of the pioneers of it.
And I know you showed the two slides, mass course requirements versus our existing requirements, and it just moved a little quickly. Like, what are the key differences between our current requirements and mass course?
So some of the key requirements, obviously the 2 years of a language we have to do some work with. And when we look at the number of students we have that, as we click the boxes for mass core going into this, for the past few years, it'll say that 30% of Brockton High School students met mass core. And again, because we're not capturing those language skills as a credited thing, that has an impact on how many students are meeting it, because if you don't take 2 years of a language with the current structure that we have, then you won't meet mass core. There are arts courses that, in the arts, it doesn't mean that you take an art class, anything in the arts. If students don't opt for one of those but take something else, those are the kinds of things that we have to make sure that we're capturing. And we do a lot of things that, on stage and sound for the kids who are putting on musicals on a regular basis. If they don't get an opportunity to take that course, some of them are more skilled in the arts than you would ever guess from a transcript, right? And so how we are starting to really capture those things and put some credit to it, and not just credit, but the standards that it has to meet in order to get the credit is really the work moving ahead for us. And so there will probably be areas where they will need to take another science or another semester of math as we start to calculate out what our credits and our course structure looks like and how we say that actually does meet a unit. That's some of the work that we'll have to have a task force really working on so we don't miss anything. And where we have to be thoughtful and creative in opening up opportunities, like a student needing credit recovery, to say in a directed academics, you have that opportunity. We have a course that you can do independently to capture those credits, are the kinds of out-of-the-box thinking that we'll have to do. When you're the largest school in the state with varying needs of students, and you're right, many of them already speak 2 or 3 languages while they're learning English, we have to really be creative and thoughtful about how we do this, so we don't have students doing everything we've asked them to do, and at the end of 4 years say, well, you didn't meet mass core, and therefore we cannot give you a diploma. If students are in a CTE track, they don't have to take the languages because their track is a vocational track, and so those CTE courses are the way we capture credits for them in that way, and they would be exempt from the language. But a lot of our CTE courses, students will take a course, but they're not in a CTE track. And so we have to be really thoughtful and deliberate about some of those things.
And my last question is, so how would the move to mass core potentially affect cost around staffing or programmatic resources?
Especially with language, as you know, we have dual language classes moving up to middle school, and we'll move into high school. We don't have Portuguese at Brockton High or French at this point, so these are the things that we have to think down the line we're going to have to bring back, because we're giving them access in elementary and access in middle, and when those students get to high school, you can't cut off the access because they have to have 2 years of the same language. And so you have some language courses that you're going to have to add. When we look at our enrollment, if our enrollment continues to trend up as our enrollment is, we definitely will need to bring in more teachers. I can tell you right now we have a class at Brockton High School that has 88 kids in it, and another class that has 77. And so when people say, you have too many teachers, I can guarantee you they're not right. And we have a number of students, especially in our bilingual classes, and those are bilingual classes, and kudos to that teacher who just takes them. But at the same time, take them, care about them, but are they getting the quality education that they deserve? And can you give them the kind of individual attention that they deserve? And the answer to that would be probably not, but it's doing a phenomenal job giving them a place to be where they're safe and they feel like somebody cares about me and I am learning. And so when we think about moving ahead with the teachers and adding staff, we have to do what's right for kids. And those of you who know me know I say over and over, it costs more to educate kids. And it costs more to educate kids in Brockton who deserve the same quality of education as kids anywhere else. And so we are very thoughtful and deliberate about how we are looking at things and where we are trying to make adds, because we know our students need those people in those places for this work to happen. We also know that there's a limit to how much money there is to do the work, and so we're very thoughtful about that. But if this is going to be a requirement, Brockton High School will need to have enough staff in order to do that, because you can't say it's required and then not offer the classes.
So those staffing changes would have to happen almost immediately.
So some of those staffing changes will be needed immediately, because you have 1,000 kids getting ready to head into Brockton High, and they're going to have to meet Mass Core to graduate.
Thank you.
Ms. Oliver, please.
Just a quick question. Have we done like a study or research why the graduation rate for our disability students is so low?
For our students with disabilities, we have done root cause analysis. We've done a number of things. And ultimately, there's also that reality that if you're identified as a child with disabilities, you have until the age of 22 to graduate. So there's that end of it. And then there's the other end of be done at the same time as everyone else. So there's that piece. So when you look at the 5-year rate, you start to see some things look a little different. You also will see that we have students in our subset programming who are students who stay until they're 22 years old. So some of our rates are not just the students aren't finishing, but we do have that as a reality too. So you see the attendance rate, the suspension rate of students with disabilities looking differently. When I showed you some of that information, when we said these are the reason that we are identifying these populations for our SOA, that was part of it when we looked at our student rates of suspension and failure rate in 9th grade for our students with disabilities. Those are some of the students that we really have to put some effort and energy around. And when we think about the number of teachers that we missed out on this year, and when we talked about compensatory services and the struggles that we have faced this year, it's a reality for us to think and be very deliberate in how we are preparing ourselves to educate our students, knowing their needs.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Oliver. Any additional questions for Deputy Walder, please? Ms. Azak, please.
Thank you. Quick question. I noticed on the presentation it said that any questions for school committee or the community would be between May 22nd and I believe June 4th?
June 3rd, because by
June
June
3rd.
4th, you have a decision to make.
Okay, so are we going to do like a public presentation for some of the families, answer some
We're gonna have
questions?
to,
Okay.
absolutely.
So probably do that at the high school or do that at the individual middle schools?
We can do the high school. We can have it so people can zoom into it. If we can go to middle schools. Ultimately, getting the information out so people can ask questions. We want to make sure that they understand that we're asking for information so that we can figure out what's the right thing to do, and that you haven't made the decision that that's the direction that we're going in yet. And so we will get the information out, but we want to make sure they understand that until you vote on it, it is not policy.
Is it possible for us to try to plan something at least by the end of May? Just to give us
Absolutely.
the community, well, at least give the committee some time to hear what the community has to
Yes.
say, students, just so we're not like rushing last minute, even though it's the end of May. But just so
can do
we
that.
have that.
We will
Okay.
set that up and definitely get the word out to parents of 8th graders and do some information sessions.
Okay, yeah, I'd hate to lose some of more middle schoolers because they get nervous and, you know, we want them at Brockton High. We don't want
Yes.
them to, look for an alternate location because they're not for this. So I just want to make sure everyone's like well-informed.
And I think what people need to understand is why is DESE pushing for this so much? And that is because students who have met Mass Core requirements tend to do better in college. And when colleges are choosing students to see that you have met Mass Core requirements, it stands out in a way that if you haven't, it makes a difference. And so part of it is the expectation is when they're looking at their research to say, why is this important? It's because the students who are in college tend to do better if they have met Mass Core requirements. They're going more prepared.
Okay. No, I like that. And I like the language. I mean, English was not my first language. So, Arabic was my first language, and that would have helped. And I actually took French when I went to Brockton High, but having that language, having them be able to get credit for that, if they're bilingual in it while they're taking English, then, that does help a lot of the students that can't take an extra language class. So, but thank you.
Mr. Vice Chair, please.
Thank you, Deputy Mulder. Just a quick question. Why is it that it's only the incoming freshmen, knowing that the freshmen that are currently there right now just started off? Is there an analysis that they need to take
change
those
the rules
classes?
in the middle of the game. And that's really what it is. If you're going to do it, you start with the group. You don't change the rules on somebody who started under one set of expectations, and then all of a sudden you shift the expectations on them. So that's the reason why it's just ninth graders. So we have to plan for that, right? That would put us on two different tracks. So if you're a new ninth grader, you are on this track. And so our student system has to look that way. The school has to plan that way. And if you are a student who was previously here and started out with our local requirements as they are, the rules don't change for you. You can continue and finish out with those requirements while our other students are meeting a different set of requirements.
Yeah. And so this leads up to, and I know Representative Vega went back and forth on this, not like a deep conversation, but with this being implemented, knowing that we have that 90% goal, are we going to meet that? Should we tweak that? Should we have a deeper conversation of, because we're in year 2 of that, is 3 years going to end up meeting that where we're going to change this?
So you're talking about our 90% proficiency goal?
Yeah.
Okay, so
I need more conversation there.
Okay, so at the heart of what we want, do we want 90% or more of our students reaching proficiency? You better believe it. And I understand it's hard for people to hear that and then look at MCAS scores and say, oh, but you're a distance away. So let's be more realistic. It's real for us to expect 90% proficiency, but that is not a graduation goal. That's an internal goal, like keep at it because we know we can do this kind of thing. DESE sets its targets for us, and we move toward those targets. And I think people feel an amount of pressure because they hear 90% proficiency. They think that, oh my gosh, if we don't get there, we've failed, right? We only fail if we're not trying to get there. And ultimately, we are working to get every student to the level of proficiency that they have a right to. And some of the pushes and expectations that are being placed on us is saying up the rigor, up the expectations, because that's the direction our kids need to go in. And then we look at how are we doing, what is our target saying? And then we have to dig deeper into our data, because if we just look at an MCAS score, you're only seeing one part of a child. And if that's all you're looking at, then that's all you're looking at. And you're judging a school and a system based on one thing. But when you see the child who wasn't coming and they're 90% proficient in their attendance all of a sudden, you're making those goals. And so you have to look at all of the aspects of what we're saying that we're doing and gauge how we're doing overall. And so to say, should we go to the state targets instead of our own? We have those anyway. We don't have a choice with that. Yep. But when we set our own targets to say, but we can do better, and believe we can do better, and keep striving to do better, and celebrate where we are overcoming whatever it takes to do better, then that's the direction that we have to go in with this work. And so if you don't see 90% and say, well, in 3 years, are we really going to do this? I don't know, but I'm going to keep trying.
And with that, I understand that you're going to get to the, obviously the committee is going to support this, to make sure that, we get to a certain level. The other component is where are we with when we allow students to participate in athletics that are not meeting the basic standards of a certain GPA.
So the eligibility for sports is also a
Very low.
policy. It's a policy. And I can tell you, when I was at Brockton High School years ago, we had a policy subcommittee that was on athletic eligibility that included parents, students, school committee members, school staff, coaches, and ultimately we landed where we started because there's this idea that the deportment grade is in it, the academic grade is in it, and people were very divided on expectations in order to participate in sports. So where you're saying, where are we with that? Again, I go back to its policy, so if that's a subcommittee that you all are looking at putting together to say, let's revisit this, I would suggest you do that, but again, I would urge you to have parents, students, coaches, and others in it, and helping to inform the decision that you ultimately make.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Chair. Any other questions or comments for Deputy Walder at this time? Thank you very much.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Chair. So the next agenda is the refer to subcommittees. I do not have anything to refer to subcommittees at this time. I'm not sure if anybody in this body does.
Thank you, Dr. Cobbs. Ms. Azak, anything?
Thank you. I'd like to schedule a safety, traffic, and transportation subcommittee for sometime in late May, early June, and then a facilities, because we need to look at our rentals. We started to do that late last year. So we just have some housekeeping that we need to do, but we'll just coordinate with the committee just before the summer hits. At least we can get a meeting in the books.
Perfect.
Thank you.
Any other matters? Mrs. Sullivan, please.
I think we have to have a policy meeting because of that policy that we have to change, right, Dr. Cobbs?
With policy?
The one that Deputy Walder just said about the MOU,
For the athletics or for the MOU?
the MOU,
MOU,
the Mass Core thing, right?
yes.
We have to have a policy meeting to change the policy for that.
I think there were some policy matters we talked about. We wanted to have quarterly updates on grants. We wanted to have quarterly updates on Schedule 19. So we should bake that into a vote of the policy. And I think there were some others. We can look at the minutes to see. I know Attorney Spotterfoot is here. But when we meet, we should really do a vote to get everything we've talked about since January 1 when we came back into to session. Any other matters?
So we will do a grant update on the 21st.
Okay.
As part of our meeting.
Great, we'll put that on the agenda.
The grant policy and procedure update, not policy, procedure update.
Any other matters on subcommittee? If not, we will go on to Agenda 4, which is consent agenda. We have A, B, C, D, E, and F. The will of the committee at this time, do you want to take them collectively, or anything taken out? Mr. Sullivan?
I'd like to take out A.
You want to take A out, Mr. Sullivan? Mr. Vice Chair?
I was going to take A, thank you for that one.
Okay.
I'm going to take out 5B. D, 5.
Oh, D is in, okay.
Yeah, D, only 5B.
Okay. Any others taking it out? No? Okay. Is there a motion relative to the other matters to take them collectively?
E and F.
There's a motion on the floor. A motion was made by Mrs. Sullivan, properly seconded by Ms. Oliver, to take B, C, E, and F collectively. Before we take a vote, B is the acceptance of donation Broadwire Networks LLC to the Dr. William H. Arnone School in the amount of $1,000. C is the acceptance of donation teaching and learning resources to Brockton High School books. E is request for authorization to accept proposal and expenditures of funds. We Need Diverse Books Organization Grant Downey School Library in the amount of $2,000 even. And then finally, F is the acceptance of human resource notifications, personnel actions, leaves of absences, resignations, retirements. Motion was made, properly seconded, to take B, C, E, and F. I'll read the roll right now. Mr. Sullivan? Mr. Gomes?
Yes.
Ms. Oliver?
Yes.
Mr. Vega?
Yes.
Vice Chair?
Yes.
Ms. Azak?
Yes.
Mr. Sullivan?
Yes.
I'm a yes as well. That passes unanimously. Now, Mr. Sullivan, A, please.
Yes, item A, it's out-of-state approval for Empower Yourself to Florida. I was wondering about the cost and how it's going to be paid.
So if you look at that, read, go to your tab 2, and and it spells out in more detail the grant. And item 3 says funding source, program and budget code, local fund, grant number, and the funding source is sponsored by NASA.
NASA is footing the whole bill on that?
Correct.
Thank you.
Ms. Azak?
Thank you. So my question is I thought it was policy when we have out-of-state chaperones. So are the 6 students that are going, are they all male, female? I just see one chaperone, so I wasn't sure if we're supposed to have a male and a female chaperone, depending on the students that are attending,
Right,
where
so-
it isn't
so-
overnight.
So Mr. Turner will escort the group, and then it says 1 BPS employee also as a chaperone. So 6 students and 2 chaperones.
Okay, so I believe, we can look up our policy, but I think it has to be, if we have male and female, just maybe at least a female chaperone.
Right, I don't
Mr.
know the
Turner's
breakdown
gonna
of the male-female student population on this grant, but I can find out for you.
Okay, I mean, I'm sorry. Male and female, yes. So I just want to make sure
Mhm.
that we have a male and female. If Mr. Turner's going to be chaperoning, then we have a female chaperone for the female students.
So the teacher will be the female, Sharon?
Okay, so we don't have a female chaperone for the female students attending? Yeah, we need to double check. I thought it was our policy when we have, especially where it's an overnight out of state, just so we make sure we have a female chaperone. It's a wonderful program, and this is great. And again, the Empower Yourself is, they've been all over the news. So for NASA to do this is wonderful. But I just wanted to make sure that we covered ourselves with the chaperones. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Azak. Anything else on this? Mr. Vice Chair?
I just wanted to chime in thanking Mr. Cedric Turner and everybody that's involved in Power. Like, he runs a phenomenal program. The competitions that they win, the drone program, I went to when they had an event last year, and even though it was raining, but these kids are making their own rocket ships and making sure they take off to the sky. So it's only 6 students. I wish it was a little bit more, but NASA's the one that's sponsoring it, and this just goes to highlight some of the great programs that we have in the district. How many students across the state or the country that gets the opportunity to actually visit NASA. So thank you, Mr. Turner.
Anything else at this time? Mr. Sullivan, do you want to do a motion?
Yes, motion to approve item A on the consent agenda.
Is there a second? Motion was made by Mr. Sullivan. I'm going to give it to properly seconded by Mr. Gomes. I'll read the roll. Mr. Sullivan?
Yes.
Mr. Gomes? Ms. Oliver?
Yes.
Mr. Vega?
Yes.
Vice Chair?
Yes.
Ms. Azak?
Yes.
Mr. Sullivan?
Yes.
I'm a yes as well. That passes. Vice Chair, we'll go to you now.
Thank you. This is a grant that's to approve for civics for the Discovering Justice program. I had the opportunity to actually sit on numerous mock trials with our students from our middle schools, and also attending a few of the events and galas at the Moakley House, and there's one that's coming up in June, and I hope members of the committee can join myself and Joyce. Make sure you show up. I know Mrs. Connors is here, and I just want to put her on the spot if she can come in and just kind of give the committee an overview of what the Discovering Justices program entails. And I know it's, we had numerous conversations of actually growing this into our high school level, and it's just expanding. And it's a phenomenal program for those that are not familiar with Discovering Justice.
Well, if you know me, I never shy away from the spotlight. But in this case, this is not my work. This is the work of Ms. Jody Nelson. She's our coordinator of ELA and social science, and has been working. This is her baby. This is one of her many passions. So I'm going to turn it over to Ms. Nelson because she should speak to you about this program and the work she's done to expand it.
Thank you, Dr. Connors. Where Dr. Connors doesn't usually shy away, I tend to stay out of the spotlight as much as possible. However, this is something that I'm extremely passionate, and I'm really happy to be able to share with you the incredible, valuable experiences our students are having, being a part of the Discovering Justice, both the mock trial and the mock appeal. As a matter of fact, this afternoon I was at West Middle School when the students welcomed Judge Ventris and Justice Vitale into the classroom for their visit this semester. It is, in the words of one of the children that I spoke with earlier in order to be able to get some direct student feedback, something that he never expected to like. His parents told him he should do it, but he has made more friends and learned more about the justice system and is thinking about being a lawyer. And another student said, this program has helped me understand the connection between what I'm doing in the classroom and real life. He said, I now understand the idea of writing an essay and having clean evidence and reasoning. And I said, okay, that's it. All right, so last year we had 2 schools participating. This year we grew to 4. And next year we plan on going to 5. And every time I see Judge Ventris, we say, wouldn't it be great if we could have our schools do an intramural competition with at our district court? So I highly, highly, highly stand behind this program and would like to see it grow and grow and grow.
Ms. Oliver, please.
I was able to be a jury last mock trial, and those students are incredible. We have so many future lawyers and judges in the making. The way they took over those courtroom was unbelievable, and I truly appreciate the judges working with our students to do what they're doing. I know that a few months ago I had an email because you guys didn't have somebody to volunteer in West. I'm so glad that somebody came up and showed up and is working with the students, because you guys would have had to pull away from West. So I'm glad somebody stepped in. I did send emails to a lot of people so they can try to help the West, basically their volunteers in there. And that was like unbelievable what I watched there, being in jury, how they took over and the judges stood back and like, you guys do what you need to do. And we have some great lawyers and judges in the future. Definitely in the city.
I'd like to pick up on 2 things that you just said. Number 1, we are going to 5 schools with this grant, hopefully. And if we go to 5 schools, then we're going to need more legal teams. And that's a challenge. So keep those connections open for that. And second of all, speaking of one of the students that you probably may have witnessed, I got to see that student. I knew that student from last year who basically did very little talking and speaking in class and was extremely shy. And she performed beautifully at the trial. I was one of the jury members for that particular school. And then this last visit that I made to that school, this student's voice was so much louder and more confident. So the efficacy that we're providing for these students with this program is just amazing. So thank you.
Keep up the great work.
Thank you.
At the gala that was held at the Mokley courthouse, I'm trying to think if it was last year, because I've been to, it was last year, I went to one before, but they were showcased on NBC News, and there was roughly probably about 600 people in attendance, some big corporate sponsors, and there were screens in the whole courthouse and the venue, and this program is so phenomenal that when they showcased and talked about discovering justice, Brockton was the highlight. So that's why not because we were the highlight, but I support it 100% when they reached out to me and having a meeting and just seeing it grow. And I've always been, we need to grow this more and more so some of our students can know how the criminal justice system works, and future lawyers and prosecutors. Thank you.
Ms. Azak, please.
Thank you. Thank you for that presentation. So I had the opportunity to sit on the jury a couple of times, and I was just always fascinated just to see our students, like they were really serious about this, and it was just awesome sitting there watching them. The one thing is I know I've spoken to a couple of people that are part of the program, and people don't realize the attorneys and the judges, the attorneys, they're really dedicating a lot of time. I want to say it's like 90 minutes a week or bi-weekly or something. They're putting a lot of time into this, and they had a shortage of attorneys. So if there's anyone that's interested, I mean, they can always reach out because when they have the attorneys, then we can offer it to more of the schools. But I know it was time dedication was huge. But again, that was one thing that we're looking for as attorneys. So anyone that's interested in volunteering, just to reach out to you. And when's the next, I remember November and like March. Oh, June, okay. All right, exciting. I get my own. Thank you.
Mr. Vice Chair, so this is relative to 5B.
Motion to approve FY25 Civics Teaching and Learning Grant of $66,500.
So motion made by the Vice Chair, properly seconded by Ms. Oliver. Mr. Gomes?
Yes.
Ms. Oliver?
Yes.
Mr. Vega?
Yes.
Vice Chair?
Yes.
Ms. Azak?
Yes.
Mr. Sullivan?
Yes.
I'm a yes as well. That passes. We do need to go to D, which is 5A. So let me just read it into the record. Request for authorization to submit proposed and expenditures of funds, National Professional Development Grant, $700,000 even a year for 5 years. Is there a motion relative to that matter? Did we approve 5A?
Yeah, we did.
That was
We only took out B,
It
so
was
we
only
approved 5A.
Like DB.
Yeah, I don't think I just did B, C, E, and F.
All
We
right,
didn't do, yeah.
motion to approve National Professional Development Grant for $700,000 a year for 5 years.
Motion was made by the Vice Chair, was properly seconded by Mr. Sullivan. Mr. Sullivan? Yeah, you're good. It's just, we're doing D, the national.
Yes.
Okay. Mr. Gomes?
Yes.
Ms. Oliver?
Yes.
Mr. Vega?
Yes.
Vice Chair?
Yes.
Ms. Azak?
Yes.
Mr. Sullivan?
Yes.
I'm a yes as well. That does pass unanimously. Members of the school committee, we could go on to the next agenda item, which is 5, but before we do so, if we could take number 7 out of order. The police chief is here. There was just recently, within the last, that's why I kept looking at my phone, a pretty bad car accident on Warren Ave. So I know the chief isn't going to be staying here too long. So could we take number 7 out of order for Chief Brenda Perez? Motion was made by Mrs. Sullivan, probably seconded by Ms. Azak to take 7 out of order. All in favor, kindly raise your hand. If you oppose, raise your hand. We will take number 7 out of order. Chief, thank you for being here tonight. Appreciate it. Looks like no serious injuries.
No serious
Good,
injuries,
thank you.
thankfully.
Thank you.
Thank you for having me. Good evening, school committee members, superintendent, mayor, thank you.
Thank you.
I'm here to give you the police update or the public safety update. All our school police officers are trained as school resource officers and are up to date in their post certification. They do all their mandatory MPTC training. In addition to, they have as SROs a required training above and beyond what's required through post. This training is geared to equip officers in developing successful relationships and support for our students, particularly learning de-escalation techniques. May 9th, we have two school police officers going to the technology and digital search warrant class. As you know, technology is ever-changing and it's evolving, and we want our school police officers to be able to keep up with those technological advances. May 16th, we have 3 school police officers attending the traditional affidavit and search warrant writing class, and that's providing officers with assistance in articulating probable cause, documenting property and evidence. It's an important function of all sworn police officers. The CBJJ meetings, community-based juvenile justice meetings, are ongoing. We have 2 remaining for this session, May 14, May 28. Our last meeting was very insightful and helpful in discussing strategies and options that we as a school and the police department face on a regular basis, and some of the challenges. And we had the attorney, Sarah, I'm not going to pronounce her last name, join us for the discussion. These meetings have been helpful in keeping everyone on the same page and maintaining the safety of our schools. The goal of these meetings are to basically reduce juvenile crime and violence in the schools and the community through increased communication and better information sharing. And I think that we've all done that as we restarted the CBJJ meetings. June 1st, as you know, is Brockton High graduation. We are working with multiple agencies to ensure graduation will be conducted in a safe and orderly fashion. We're working with several agencies, obviously school police, Brockton Police, but we also have Fire, Brewster, the school facilities. Randolph is bringing in a canine, Norfolk, BEMA. We're going to be reaching out to the state police, and we'll also have the Brockton Police drone unit available and out. April 29th, we had an incident with a a female student at approximately 7:30 a.m. at North Montello and Field. We received a report of an adult male attempting to approach a young female student. A Good Samaritan intervened and drove the student to safety. At this time, this is an active and ongoing investigation that the school police and Brockton Police are undergoing. The metal detector warranty has been renewed, if you were wondering. The Brockton Police Youth Academy is up and running, and we have a class graduating May 28th at the Trinity Catholic Academy. This youth academy has been around for over 10 years. The Youth Academy is a program made possible through our Shannon Grant. It's a comprehensive, once-a-week, 8-week program held in April and October. It's designed to equip middle school students ages 11 through 14 with practical skills. It covers various topics, including criminal law, traffic, gang prevention, pedestrian and bicycle safety, firearm safety, social media, cyberbullying, drones, and vaping. By delving into these crucial areas, the program looks to educate and ensure that students are well prepared to navigate the challenges of their age group, making it a valuable educational opportunity that instills confidence. If you're asking the question, how do they apply? People can go to our website at brocktonpolice.com for information. The DARE Camp is scheduled July 22nd to the 26th. This is conducted by the DA's office, but it's in partnership with the school police and Brockton Police, and it's a week long of activities and learning while engaging with our local youth. The Brockton Police Department also has the Junior Cadet Program. That's also made possible through our Shannon Grant. This year, they'll be running from June 24th to the 28th and August 12th to the 16th. This year is our 4th year running this program, and it's a unique 1-week experience. We have 2 sessions tailored for high school students ages 14 through to 16, and it offers a diverse range of activities from first aid, CPR, criminal law, leadership. Students also have an opportunity to engage in team building, physical fitness, nutrition, an introduction into canine, personal finance, and water safety, which you have spoken about. They also attend a Red Sox game, adding a touch of excitement to their learning experience. Again, how do you apply? We still have seats available for August, so I encourage anybody that's interested to go to brocktonpolice.com to apply. These programs would not exist without the hard work and dedication of the Brockton police officers and Brockton School Police, and without the partnership of the school district, Mass State Police, and our Shannon Grant. As I close out, I'd like to share a video to show you what it is that the Junior Cadet Program does. It's about 4 minutes. It's a little long, but I think it's worth it.
Chief, Ms. Azak, please.
Question, just, that's awesome. I love it. I love how our students are interacting with our police. I know my two older nieces were, I think, junior cadets. I remember them, they were in middle school, and my sister signed them up, and they loved it. So this is great. And I do follow your social media pages. Is it somewhere on there where we can share it to get the word out? Because we have so many programs.
We do post it on our social media.
Perfect,
yes.
perfect. So it's great. I'm sure you're going to get more people that sign up after tonight's meeting. So it's a great program. So thank you, and thank you to the police officers that are putting that on with you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions for the chief? Thank you very much, Chief.
Thank
Really
you.
appreciate it.
Have
Have
a
a
good
good
night.
evening. Thank you. We will go now to, well, Dr. Cobbs isn't here, so why don't we just take a couple-minute recess? Just take a 2-minute recess till he comes back. We're back in the session. We will go now to Agenda 5, which is unfinished business, discussion and potential vote. There's two matters. There's the facility moves, and then there's job postings for anticipated positions. I do just want to say, relative to the job postings, we will be having a special meeting next week, again, next Wednesday. All of us here collectively, we fully support having teachers in the classrooms, right? That's what the students need. We also have to make sure we're financially responsible. So we need to make sure, and I already spoke to Trish, the vice chair and I spoke to Trish, we need to make sure we have a clear understanding of the funding, making sure that every position that's asked for that we want to support has a dollar amount. To post positions, we have to make sure that those people are going to be paid and it's within the budget. So we can talk about this tonight. I'm not going to call a vote tonight on that. I am going to call a vote on Wednesday night. It'll give us some time to work with Dr. Cobbs, work with his cabinet, and again, Trish and Troy and TJ as well. So I just wanted to put that on the record. But we will go on now. Facility moves is the matter before us tonight. Dr. Cobbs?
Okay, so as we discussed in executive session a couple of weeks ago now, we went over the facility moves, the agenda and the plan. So you have a copy of this in your packet, so your facility moves again. Should be right after this. Anthony. Yeah.
Does everybody have that within the packet? Yes? Tim, it's within this?
Yeah, I got it.
Okay.
Can you say one quick?
Oh, sure. Mr. Sullivan, please.
There was a small group that was down toward the Goddard School today. And the girl there, who's one of it?
You have to turn put the mic on.
There was a group of us that went down to the Goddard School today to take a tour. And I just wanted to add that that building needs a ton of work. That's far from done. But the girl that was running the program, Lenny, was saying that they had to be out of the Goddard School June 30th.
Correct.
Where are they going to go then?
We will accommodate their programs throughout the school district. The summer programs, we'll put in one of the school programs that we can sort them out. But so they'll have opportunities to use either the high school, any of the schools in the afternoons. If that's typically when they do their programs. And the summer programs will run during the day, so they won't have a permanent home like they have now. They'll have use of facilities.
What's going to be done when are they going to go back there at the end?
I'm not sure what the end is. No, right now
The
they're
summer,
not planning.
the end of the summer.
There again, you understand that it was a community center that we've been funding for the last 3 years after we rehabbed the building, and we don't have a space for them to have a permanent setup, as they have now. So we have to use those buildings for school purposes.
Because I was under the impression, as well as the other people in the group, that adult learning was going to move there in the daytime, and they would be able to stay there at night.
If they work that out, yes, absolutely, because the adult learning center can still use the adult learning center in the evening, so they can work that out between them, how they want to use that program. But that'll be under the auspices of Dr. DeBarros Montero, the community schools.
So, in other words, June 30th, they're up. They have to
Correct.
find someplace.
As a full-time, static facility for them to use for headquarters, if you will, yes.
And I'm sure you're well aware that that building needs a ton of work.
Yes,
The roof was
we're
leaking.
working on it now. We'll continue working on it through the school year. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
And to include installing an elevator on the building.
Any other questions for Dr. Cobbs? What's the will of the committee? Ms. Azek?
I didn't get this in my packet. This is the old one. I don't have an updated one in my packet.
Should be in there.
This is my whole packet. I just put through it twice.
There was a thing with a clip, Joyce, like this.
Oh.
That's what it's in? Yeah.
I have a pretty sizable packet here.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff tonight.
I'll have it.
I don't know. Do you have any extra copies?
Oh, thank you, Melanie.
Oh, this one right here?
Yeah, that's it right there. You just, thought I saw it there.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Mrs. Campbell.
Campbell, as always. Thank you to the rescue.
Thank you, Melinda.
Ms. Azak, any more comments at this time?
No, but
Okay.
are we gonna take these individually? The moves? Okay.
Yep. Dr. Cobbs, the floor is yours.
Okay, so the first move on the list here is the Huntington School location. Right now, it's obviously at the Huntington School will use it for the Promise School that's located at the Jones Building right now on Pleasant, and on Summer Street. Right now, part of the IT department is in the Huntington Building in the basement. So we'll eventually have all of IT there in the basement, and the Promise School will be there in the building to expand for 2 more grades they will add on in the next 2 school years.
Any questions relative to the Huntington School for Dr. Cobbs at this time? Mr. Vice Chair, please.
I'll motion to motion to approve the move of the Promise High School, which is currently at the Jones Building, to move over to the Huntington School for the next school year.
And then just on that motion though, and also is an IT coming from
Oh,
Westgate.
also the
back there.
IT from.
Can you just pull your second for a second? Can you withdraw that? You'll withdraw your second, okay. I'm sorry, the motion, please?
And also the IT from Westgate to move into the Huntington as well.
It's the form of a motion. On the motion, Mr. Vega, before we vote on the motion.
Question.
On the motion, please.
How do we vote on individual pieces? It's a domino effect, right? So one school move affects another school move, affects another school move. I'm unclear about how we're to make that vote.
The Promise High School is moving into a vacant building.
Yeah, Promise is moving to Huntington. That means that the therapeutic and the re-engagement program moves into the building they were previously in, and then, you know what I mean? Like it goes backwards from there. I'm not, you know, I'm just wondering.
What do you mean backwards?
Okay, so as I understand it, right, if the Promise is currently in the Jones Building, right? Oh, I'm sorry, not,
That's correct.
yeah, in the Jones Building. So they're going to hop from there to Huntington, and Brockton Therapeutic and the re-engagement are going to move into the Jones Building.
Yeah, that's the proposal.
That's the proposal. Okay, yeah.
So you're going down a line item, moving them into a vacant, which will open it up to leave it to a vote to move the other programs into the building.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I guess I'm jumping ahead because it doesn't hold, that we're not going to be able to do that with the other spots. Like,
Once we get to it.
okay, yeah.
Kind of confused.
Are you good, Mr. Vega, on that
Yes,
one?
I'm good, thank you.
All right, so we do have a motion made by the Vice Chair, is properly seconded by Ms. Oliver, relative to the Huntington School. I'll just call the roll. Mrs. Sullivan?
Yes.
Mr. Gomes?
Yes.
Ms. Oliver?
Yes.
Mr. Vega?
Yes.
Vice Chair?
Yes.
Ms. Azak?
Yes.
Mr. Sullivan?
Yes.
I'm a yes as well, so that matter does pass. And now, Dr. Cobbs, relative to the Jones Building.
So the next move, as Mr. Hoy, Mr. Vega said, the Jones Building will be empty, so we plan to move to the Jones Building on Summer Street, the Brockton Therapeutic Day School from the Westgate Mall, where they are now at the Westgate Building, and also move the Brockton Re-Engagement New Beginnings Center from the fairgrounds at 440 Belmont Street to the Jones Building as well. Those moves will get us out of the lease space for the Therapeutic Day School, and also the lease space at the fairgrounds, and cohabitate those programs.
Ms. Azak, please.
Thank you. So I just wanted to speak on this. So those that are not familiar, the students that were at the Summer Street location, we've moved them 3 times in less than 6 years. The building, we call them Champion/Edison. They're up in the green building right now at the high school. I would recommend bringing them back to Summer Street. That location was fit for them. We didn't have as many issues when they were at that location. Many of us get the phone calls of the issues that are happening. My recommendation was to bring them back to the building where they were meant to be.
We acquired that building specifically for that program. You know, it was also named for Bob Jones, who passed away almost a year ago. He started that program when he was the superintendent. And I just think that's a better fit for them, and they're not going to outgrow that building. It seems like all we do is we move programs around, and they outgrow these locations, and we end up spending money. I don't remember offhand how much it cost us, but last year it cost us money to set up the green building to bring this program over there. Now, to me, that was just throwing money out the window because some of us didn't vote for it. Sometimes these moves are not the best moves, and that's why we really need to look into them a little further. You know, sometimes if we have to move another program, it could be a temporary fix. They're there short term until we can figure out what we're doing with our, you know, transportation, other buildings, while we get ourselves through this deficit. But I would recommend bringing back the Champion/Edison to the Summer Street location. That fit them perfectly. Everything that the state wanted, they had them. For those that don't remember, we moved them from the old Goddard. We moved them from the Goddard to the Huntington, from the Huntington to Summer Street, from Summer Street to the high school in less than 6 years, three times. What does that say to our students? We're just going to keep moving you around. So I just think they need stability, and we should have them at a location. What's wrong?
So as I mentioned before, you know, I the decision to make all those moves was not mine, and I was responsible as the deputy superintendent to facilitate those moves and all the logistics, you know. But this, again, these moves are designed to not move anybody again. I can't speak for the past, you know. I'm speaking for what's the best program now and what's the best process now for the schools. And again, we've talked about this ad nauseum with the cabinet and went through a lot of different scenarios, and this works. If you do that, put the Edison Day or Champion, whatever you want to call it, back there, then you still have to figure out what you're going to do with the re-engagement center and get out of that lease at the fairgrounds or not. So I understand your disagreement. Sharon, you want to say something?
Deputy, just have to
Come on up to the
go up
mic.
on the mic, please,
You got-
because
come on
it's
up.
being filmed. Thank you.
You guys want to go up to?
For our Edison students on the green floor, like how many students?
Dr. Connors will
Gotcha.
go to the microphone and answer that
Okay.
question as well. So again, this is designed to not keep moving students anymore. These places will stay, schools will stay in place for the next 5 years at least before, you know, and they
So-
won't outgrow the spaces.
So I heard you say moving kids from the Goddard to the Huntington to Westgate and Champion in the same breath. Remember, we're talking about the Therapeutic Day School. And so the Therapeutic Day School did move from the Goddard to the Huntington building to Westgate and needs a home. And the Champion School was at the Keith building to the Jones, became Edison Day and needs a home. So I just wanted to be clear on that, because when you talked about the moves, I'm like, remember, we have 2 schools that we have to find homes for.
They can't share it with another program. They have to
The Therapeutic Day School, we have to get state approval about where we locate it, and that is why it has to have a gymnasium, it has to have an elevator, it has to meet the criteria of a therapeutic setting. The Jones building meets the criteria of the therapeutic setting. Edison Day, though the kids have taken to that blended learning model, it took a while. We also know they had a rough start, just like Brockton High School had a rough start this year. Things have calmed down, but at the same time, we need them in a location that is for them. And so for that daytime, those daytime hours, they have their school.
So, and just also, I just want to point out that these schools were together before at the Huntington building. The Pathways, New Beginnings, and Huntington Therapeutic were all at the Huntington building before. We had to move them over to the Westgate and to rehab the building.
So your question regarding enrollment, so when Champion was at the current, the Jones building, the classes are too small. We had many families who were requesting Champion at the time because it is a smaller learning community. We didn't have space to enroll students there because we couldn't fit maybe more than 10 students in a classroom, which would be wonderful, except there's a demand from our high school families for a smaller learning environment. Currently, the enrollment there is about 152 if you count our pathway students, which are re-engagement students, because they fall under the title of Edison Day as a school, because they have to be connected, it's closer to 180. But I would say putting them back in the Jones Building puts us back in the same problem. I was just on the phone with a family today who's requesting a smaller learning environment, and for right now, they're at Edison Day, and in my head, I'm hopeful that we'll have a larger footprint to be able to expand Edison Day or Champion, whatever it goes back to, because our families, I understand where you're saying, Ms. Azak. Certainly, I fielded a lot of phone calls and talked to a lot of families last summer when we were moving Champion to Brockton High, and I understand how detrimental that was to our students and their families. So if we put them back at the Jones Building, we're squelching them again, and we're not offering space and opportunities for a smaller learning environment that our families are looking for. That's my concern.
Any follow-ups, Ms. Azak? No follow-ups. Any other, Mr. Vega, please?
It's really more of a comment. I had the opportunity to go to the Jones Building for the first time in my time living in Brockton with the vice chair and with Dr. Cobbs, I think it's more than just the classrooms. The environment, both exterior and interior, are zen is the only word that I can use. And so I think in terms of the types of students that our therapeutic program serves, the type of students that our re-engagement program serve, there is something to be said about being at that address with that particular population of students. We had the opportunity to walk through too. The two floors are very separate, or the potential exists to, if there's concern about those populations, crossing over. One part of the conversation we had is these are alternative programs, and
Right.
it does speak to the original mission of the Jones Building. So I see this as a win, potentially. Yeah.
Thank you, Mr.
Thank you.
Vega. Any other comments or questions at this time? Mr. Vice Chair, please.
I share the same concerns as Mrs. Is this mic on?
I think so.
I understand like the program that was there when it comes as far as class sizes. Most that you could probably get is about 15 or 20 in each class. I don't support this. I've already told the committee this, is that you cannot integrate two programs as behavioral and mentally kids that have mental issues in the same building. You have one gym, you have one cafeteria. This is a disaster and a recipe in the making. I'm only one vote, but I do concur with Mrs. Azak of bringing back the Champion program or Edison Day program back to its original location. I think the committee, not this committee, I know we don't want to go to the past, did a huge disservice by removing them out of that building. That building was procured for that specific program because we didn't have space for them. So that's my opinion on that. My opinion is based on talking to the ground staff that actually work in the building and not just what the administration says, because the committee prior to this based their decisions on that, and it was a poor decision, and we're back to making changes again. And I can see that happen again.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Chair. Mr. Gomes, please.
Are we able to keep one of these, either the Brockton Therapeutic or the re-engagement, where they're at currently?
Well, if you keep the re-engagement where they are right now at the fairgrounds, it's almost a $200,000 a year lease payment to that program. And like I talked to Mr. Rodriguez and Mr. Gomes, and Mr. Vega, when we went out to visit the programs, to me that's two teaching positions that I can put back in instead of paying a lease that we're eventually going to have to get out of. And actually, we don't have a lease on the building, and that's still at the city solicitor's office because, we're likely going to have to evacuate that building, vacate that building just like we did at the Westgate building. So if you stay there, if it's going to be a short time, maybe a year, maybe two, then you're eventually going to have to move them, and you're concerned about continuing to move programs This gets them settled where they need to be, and that will be their home. And again, these programs were cohabitating for years at the Keith building and then at the Huntington building. So, to answer your question, yes, we could continue to pay the lease, but I don't know for how long until we're forced to move out of the building. And, you know, it's money wasted. We're concerned about fiscal budget deficits and expenditures, and we want to stay in a building that eventually, it's not ours, we're going to have to vacate at some point.
So-
All these moves will put students in buildings that we own, and real estate that we already own, and we're not paying any leases on.
And I have to say that we cannot keep the therapeutic day school at the Westgate location.
That's what I was gonna.
We cannot.
Just to follow up on what the vice chair said relative to the cafeteria and the gymnasium at the Jones building, is there any concerns about that at all? Dr. Connors, no? Yes.
So our pathway students at our re-engagement center don't need, when I say don't need, meaning their course of study, they are on an individualized program, and so they're not in a traditional, you have to have phys ed every year, for example. So there wouldn't be, they wouldn't be in the gym at the same time, even if they were. Certainly, we would have that space available, but that's what the building leaders do, is work out that opportunity. Again, we had the therapeutic day school and re-engagement New Beginnings, it was New Beginnings, at the Huntington building proper last year. And we didn't have any issues between the groups of students. I think we're painting pictures about our kids that are unfair to them.
Thank you, Doctor. Mr. Vega, follow up, please.
One last thing, and it's just a comment because we're talking about the re-engagement team. The vice chair and Dr. Cobbs and I also got to visit the re-engagement program, and I can't say enough about what, the moment you walk into that space, there is a sense of calm. The stories they were telling us, the success stories around students who are a part of those programs, it's just remarkable. So, yeah, the work that's being done is incredible. I think it merits a space like the Jones Building, yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Vega. Any other, Ms. Oliver, please.
Definitely, this is a very difficult moves. I also agree that we shouldn't have both programs in the same building. Speak to Mr. Vega, especially if you've been there in their re-engagement, they're doing so great on their own, they're achieving their goals. And then to put therapeutic day school with them, from the calls that we always get about what is going on with some of those kids, we have to be realistic. We have to basically come to an agreement that we should not be putting the same program in the same building.
May I ask you, what calls are you getting about what's going on with what kids?
Some of the therapeutic, confidential, yeah.
Okay, so
Yeah.
therapeutic, okay. Just clarifying, because of things that if we're not aware of, we can't support and work to fix.
Mr. Vega, again, follow up.
Yeah, just to throw out there too, because I wouldn't want to disturb that program at all. Like it is flowing beautifully, and they told us that they anticipate growth. You know, part of success is that you know you're addressing a need, and both of the directors in that building expressed anticipated growth this year and following years. I don't see how they grow in that building. You know, and continue to deliver at the level that we saw in our visit. Yeah.
Any other matters before us relative to the Jones Building? Entertain a motion at this time. Is there a motion on the floor at this time?
Motion to accept the Jones Building move?
Do you want to just define it just to keep it uniform like we did for the Huntington?
Okay, so the suggested move column?
Yes.
Which would be the Brockton Therapeutic Day School and the Brockton Re-Engagement New Beginnings Center and 37H program. And I just want to say that the executive team has worked with Dr. Cobbs on this, and they are professionals, and I think that we should take they've vetted this out, they've worked on this, they've vetted it for quite some time. And this is to save money because we have to get out of these rentals. So I make that motion to support the executive team and Dr. Cobbs.
The motion was made by Ms. Sullivan. It was properly seconded by Mr. Sullivan. I just had a question on the motion. if the re-engagement was to stay, I just want to get a clarifier on this, Dr. Cobbs. If they were to stay at Connie's place, the fairground, you're saying they'd have to be out, you don't know exactly when, but it was
Well, again,
within the
it's still
academic
at the
year.
solicitor's office.
Yeah.
We don't have a valid lease in the place at all, so
Right.
we're there at will.
Yep, tenants at will, okay.
And we don't have, and we're technically legally shouldn't be paying them.
On the motion, Ms. Azak, please.
So
On the motion.
You know, this has come up quite a few times. Yes, we have to pay these leases, but have we approached, I mean, everyone knows the financial situation we're in. Have we approached them and said, right now you see where we are, can we try to renegotiate a lower lease? That way we can keep our students there, give them a little bit of stability until we figure out what's going on a year from now. Obviously, they don't want to deal with an empty building. You know, there's a lot of empty buildings. It's not that easy for these landlords to fill the buildings, especially one that size. Can we approach them and just try to renegotiate a lower lease?
So I'll say again, we do not have a lease. And the solicitor's office, Solicitor Bridges is working with all these lease people, and some of them are getting paid, some of them not. If you look at I gave you a copy of the leases and where the status of them are. We haven't paid the person for our warehouse on Foster Street yet. And it should show up money, but they haven't gotten paid. And solicitors saying legally we can't pay some of these people because we do not have a lease and they were procured properly. So we can't go back and negotiate something that doesn't exist.
But I mean, like moving forward, a new
Well,
lease.
Go ahead.
Like negotiate a new lease moving forward.
Moving forward, the way to negotiate a lease is to put out an RFP and then take the bids and solicit the bids and then go for whoever the lowest bidder is. So that's, I would not go and negotiate directly because that would be a violation of the procurement laws.
So if we were to follow that route, if that was the committee's will, I can see landlords in wanting to, work with companies or individuals to hold on to a tenant rather than have a vacant property, especially given what's going on with, real estate in our market and where we are right now. So, I mean, would it hurt us to put it out there for an RFP and see? Again, everyone that's watching knows where we are financially right now. And you would think we've been long-term tenants with a lot of people. We've done great business over the years. You would think somebody would just say, you know what, let's cut Brockton a break and work with them, rather than have an empty building.
Well, nobody's ringing my phone to say, hey, I want to give you less money for my property, and with the Westgate property, it's not an option. We've received a notice to vacate that building, so he's not negotiating at all.
No, that's fine.
What I could do, I mean, again, there is a motion, and I know, Vice Chair, you wanted to say, you have the floor on the motion.
For my personal knowledge, an RFP was directed to be put out on certain properties, and the city solicitor is still waiting on those RFPs to go out. So I think that needs to be a further discussion after this meeting.
What I could do as the chair, again, if the motion is withdrawn, we can speak to the solicitor and put this on the agenda for Wednesday night. Again, we don't have to take a vote on this tonight. We could have the solicitor appear, we get status updates, but at some point, we have to take a vote because there has to be a facility utilized for students and staff. So if the committee wants to get further information relative to the request by Ms. Azak, we can do that, but then this matter would be postponed and put on next Wednesday night's agenda. But again, we could only do that if it's the will of the committee. Does that sound like something the committee wants to do or not?
Well, just on that, Mayor,
Yes, sir.
like Mr. Vega said, this will hold up some of the other moves because they are contingent upon one base being vacated for the next school to move into. So it may pretty much stop this process tonight.
On the motion, please.
Yep, so, I mean, I get it. We're gonna save money, but this is also our students and their education, and we need to put them first. And we need to make sure that this is gonna be a good fit for them. And I don't agree with having the two programs at one location. Unless we can find another location for them. I mean, Huntington's a huge school. That holds 500 students. They need their space. Each program needs their space. And they're eventually gonna outgrow it. So I don't see this being a 5-year plan. they're gonna outgrow it. They're all looking to grow their programs. So I'm not, trying to be difficult, I'm just trying to put our students first. And I get people meet, but sometimes, we're the decision makers as well. And, I hate to go back to last year, but moving our students to the green building, that was not a smart move. And look at where we are right now. Not even a year later, we're looking to move them again.
I don't think so.
So that's why we're here to ask the hard questions and try to put our students first.
So again, I'll say that as the cabinet, we've discussed these again at length, and many times went around very many different scenarios. And it does allow for the growth of the programs in the schools, that when we make these moves, it allows us to not move them again. And it's not just about saving money, it's also about what's right for these particular schools and the programs. And this is what we came up with. Happy to entertain any suggestions that you guys have about, least moves, because once you change one, you have to change the other one. It's a domino effect, and we've considered all of those moves and scenarios.
What's the will of the committee relative to the Jones Building? Is there a desire to have this, in essence, postponed until Wednesday night? And if that's the case, do we have the ability to move on in any other of these matters? I think we probably do on some of them, because right now both of the suggested move, we'll just say tenants, for lack of a better word, are external right now, right? There are two different properties that we're leasing. On the motion, Ms. Oliver, because we still have a motion.
Motion to postpone this particular one?
There's already a motion
Yeah.
made, properly second under Robert's rules. We can't make another motion, so we either vote it up, vote it down, or Mrs. Sullivan, who made the motion, can withdraw it, and then Mr. Sullivan can withdraw his, and then we can put this on Wednesday night.
Okay.
Mrs. Sullivan, do you have a question on the motion?
I think it would be wise for us to look at this more in depth and see what options we have. Again, checking the lease and whatever steps we can take would be my advice. And then we still can vote on the other motions. Like you said, these are external, so it should not affect anything else.
Thank you, Mr. Gomes. Mr. Sullivan?
I'll withdraw my motion.
Okay, you'll withdraw your motion, Mr. Sullivan? So there are no motions before us right now. Is there a contemplation of a motion to postpone this matter until our special meeting, which is on Wednesday night? Ms. Oliver?
This to our next meeting on Wednesday night.
So motion was made by Ms. Oliver, properly seconded by Mr. Gomes. All in favor of that, kindly raise your hand. If you oppose, raise your hand. It passes. So the matter before us for Facilities Jones Building will be on next Wednesday night's agenda, which is, what's the date? 15th? 15th. In the meantime, I will speak to Solicitor Bridges tomorrow morning. I'll get some information relative to what Ms. Azak said, follow up with what Dr. Cobb said and the Vice Chair, and then report back. Yes?
What is the cost to move the two programs to the Jones? If we can see the total cost for that, I'm looking over here, there's no way it's just $9,000.
That's an estimate, because every time we make a move, we have to pay the teachers the 10 hours to move by the CBA, which is 5 hours to pack, and then we move the items, and then 5 hours to unpack and set up the classrooms.
Okay.
That's what those estimates are for.
Okay, because I'm looking at the total cost for all the moves on
Right.
the last page at 329.6.
Right, which is a high-end estimate, but that's
Okay.
just to give you something to work with.
Just to see, okay. Thank you.
So that matter is postponed. Are we, Dr. Cobbs, are we able to go forward on some of these other matters?
Okay, so the next one is the Goddard Building. Right now, we plan to move community schools into that building and the Adult Learning Center into that building.
Members of the committee, any questions relative to that matter? So community schools right now is up at the Westgate, and we all know where the Adult Learning Center is. Mr. Sullivan, I'll ask you the question, please.
I don't, the question or comment. I'm looking at the 45,000 for building renovations. It needs a lot more than that. You'll spend that just on the roof.
No, we actually got a price to repair the roof. There's a $3,500 to repair the asphalt shingle roof, on which we believe is where most of the leak is coming from. The others are, I think the The contractor said that maybe 100 loose slate tiles up there that will have repaired, so it won't, we're not gonna put a new roof on the building. You're right, to replace that building roof would be similar to the Huntington, which was about $1.7 million. So but the renovations are at that price because, again, we're doing all the work with in-house assets, so we're not contracting out anything other than repairing the roof.
You had mentioned the installing an elevator.
Right. So you're right, that price is not in there. That's about $300,000 to install the elevator. And that will be built into our facilities budget, not facilities, but our operations budget of $39.8 million.
I just wanted to add that the Sabora that's in there now, the community school.
Right.
There's 100 to 125 people involved.
Well, yeah, they come in different times. The Sabora has, like, I don't know, I think 4 or 5 people that are there sometimes during the week in the office spaces, but their programs run intermittently and people come in and out at different times for classes and different things. So, and again, for the evening classes, when they run the ASL classes, they can do that at the ALC building, or they can do it again at the Gardner building in the evening. So they'll still have access to it.
No, you said they had to move out June 30th.
Right, that's correct.
They don't have access after that?
Yeah, they'll have access to, they'll still do their program, they just won't have use of the office space, the whole building all the time.
Okay.
So they'll still be able to run their programs.
All right, thank you.
There's not 100 people that are there every day, like a regular school. Those are people that different programs that come in for different classes. And a lot of them are in the evening. And for the young children, they're not there during the daytime. They're in the summertime, they'll be there, so, which will not be a problem because it'll be available for the summer.
No, I'm well aware that the adult learning center in that program is almost similar.
Right.
They have a classroom for kids.
Right.
Well, the adult learning.
Right. Mm-hmm.
But when they're moving, if they have to move, they have a ton of stuff that has to be moved. The gardens out back, the man-made gardens and the rototillers and all that stuff. It's going to be a big move.
Right. But again, there's no reason that they can't still use the gardens outside if they want to keep them there. They'll be there. They don't have to move them. They can still tend them right where they are.
Yep. Except they have no way to get there.
Will they get there now?
No, I mean, if there was a school someplace else, you were talking about after June 30th.
No, that's what I'm saying. You don't have to move the gardens. They can still do the garden work at the facility where it is. They don't have to move them. They can still come there during the daytime. There will be some students there with the adult learning center students, but their class schedules on Mondays they use 11 classrooms. On Tuesday I think it's 1, Wednesday I think it's 2, Thursday is 1, and Friday is 1. So the building is fairly occupied most of the week.
Just to clarify one thing, June 30th, they're gone, they're out of there?
Right.
Or are they staying?
Right. No, they have to leave the building by June 30th so we can get it set up for the school, for the adult learning center move. And the community schools move. We have to move community schools out of Westgate. We haven't until August to do that move, but as soon as we move them and get them set up, the better, so they can operate their summer program for the community schools.
I just wanted to add, if somebody's going to make a motion, I'd like to add that the people in the Sabora program have a place to go to after June 30th. You just can't leave them out.
Well, I keep
Can't put them on the street.
I keep saying they will have a place to use. They'll have facilities to use. They won't have a permanent place like they have now that we're paying for. We've been paying for the last 3 years after we rehab the building. That the school building needs to be used for school purposes.
Mr. Vice Chair, followed by Ms. Oliver, followed by Ms. Azak, followed by Mr. Vega.
Question for Dr. Cobbs. On the elevator for the guarded, if you could refresh my memory, didn't one of the state representatives file for earmark for that?
Correct.
Do we know where we are with that, or it hasn't?
No, I don't. Michelle Dubois, I think, was one of them, and actually the whole contingent met with us at the high school.
Yep.
And there was a whole wish list that I share with all of you that they're supposed to pick and choose which one of the things that they want to sponsor, and that was one of them.
Okay. But we are going to budget on our capital
Right.
for that. and if it comes in, then we can move it elsewhere.
Exactly, so it will be in our budget, and then we'll get reimbursed from the state, like we did with the Downey School playground.
All right, thank you.
Ms. Oliver, Ms. Azak, Mr. Vega, please.
Just to piggyback from Mr. Sullivan, I completely agree with you. The fact that we're just throwing Sabuda out when they've been basically in that building, they've been tolerating how the building has been. I think somebody needs to advocate for them. No, even though we've been paying for the building, they're the one that does all their own custodial stuff in the building and keeping it kept. For us to basically say June 30th, you no longer have a dedicated space, I think it's unfair for all the work they do. Also, I know this is a very tough voting because we're moving the Adult Learning Center into the garden building when they also have made a home at the Pine School. I'm very, conflicted on this moves, but I think I agree with Mr. Sullivan. We got to figure out where we're going to put some Buddha because we can't just throw them out. I had, long talks with the Lenny and other community members that works there and the work they've been doing, the same with Adult Learning Center. We also got to respect the work they've done and what they put in this community. So just to say June 30th, figure out, we'll just put you anywhere. When they've already done the office, they've dealt with leaking and everything else in that facility, we need to be more considerate and basically we need to find a way to put them. We can't just say we're kicking them out.
So in response to that, again, I've met with Lenny several times. I've met with Lenny and Dr. DeBarros several times regarding programs and places for the Sabura program. We're not just kicking them out and saying, go away, thanks for everything. We will accommodate them in different, like I said already several times tonight, we will accommodate them in different buildings in the district and as they need for different programs. When I was principal at Edison Academy for 8 years, they were at the high school using the class in the high school in the evening. They can go back to doing that. They can use the Adult Learning Center in the evening if they want to. They can use the Garden Building in the evening if they want to. They can use any of the other school buildings for the summer program for the young children. So we're not just kicking them out, we're just not giving them a permanent office space necessarily to work out of, and that's the difference. So we will accommodate their programs and their needs in a different way.
Mr. Vega?
So there's two things going on in my head. Just to stick with the Sabura for a minute. So Dr. Barros Montero is like the umbrella for
She's the director
Adult
for
Learning
the-
Center,
exactly.
and
That's
she's
the
been
other
associated with
community.
Sabura as well,
That's
right?
correct.
So if the Adult Learning Center is moving to Goddard, that means Dr. Barros is moving to Goddard as well,
That's
right?
correct.
So I just think in there could exist
Right.
the opportunity for Sabura and adult learning to coexist.
Exactly.
But I got to visit today with Mr. Sullivan and Ms. Sullivan today. Half of the bathrooms downstairs aren't working. Second floor bathrooms are also in a challenging state. I know work is being done on the second floor. I operate from the standpoint of if we're confident that things can be done, then I'll move forward with that. My challenge, though, is it's really hard for me to imagine this being done. What we saw today was a major project underway. I think it'll be beautiful when it's complete. I think the Goddard is something worth renovating. Mm-hmm. I'd be really concerned about our ability to move the Adult Learning Center and community schools in there and have them operate at the level that they operate now. I guess that's all I'm saying. Yeah, it was.
So we took a couple of the crews that were at the Huntington building, which will slow that project down some to put over at the Goddard building, and they'll be there. Once we finish the Huntington this summer, the next project will be the Goddard building, and we'll work on it all next school year. So. It will take time, but we will get it done.
Any other Vice Chair follow-up, followed by Ms. Azak?
Just to piggyback off of Dr. Cobb's, for those members that's toward the Huntington School, it's night and day in there. I have confidence in Dr. Cobbs with the facilities crew, because they saved us a lot of money doing in-house work, and I do have confidence that they can get into the Goddard and get that building to where it needs to be with the skilled labor force that we do have. So that's my thoughts on there. So.
Thank you, Ms. Vice Chair. Ms. Azak, please.
Thank you. I've been in the Goddard plenty of times, and it does need a lot of work. We know that. But for those that, just a refresher, Sabura is a great program. They offer a lot to our community, to our adults, great program. So we need to support them. But we were also paying for them to be there, and it was very, very expensive. Dr. Cobbs, I don't remember offhand how much, was it the electricity just a month? Monthly bill, was it like $10,000 a month for just electricity?
Yeah, electricity, and we do some of the facilities. We the grounds, we do some cleanup inside the building, and the utilities for gas and for the electricity, yeah.
So probably about a couple $100,000 a year?
Yeah.
So a couple $100,000 a year, which is, it's a great program, but we're also paying to lease other locations to have for our, for our students and stuff. So I get it. We have to make room for other programs to go there. Is there, where they're adults, is there any way we can find room for them? Where Huntington is huge. Is there any way we can find somewhere in Huntington for them? Because Huntington, they're not going to use that whole building right away for the next 2-3 years.
Well, they will. They'll add another grade next year, and they will.
No, I know there's kids in there, but these are adults. And
which program you're talking about?
Okay, that's why I was asking. That's why I'm asking that. We have,
For the Huntington building, will be the Promise School will be over there, and they're school-age children. Those are the ones that we have to accommodate by law, not adults.
Is there anywhere else where we can take someone and put them administrative, maybe at Huntington, where they're not students and it's not teaching? Do we have any room that we can move some, staff over there and make room for our students somewhere else?
I don't know the answer to that question, because once we move our schools and they occupy the spaces, like for instance, the Adult Learning Center, the Payne building will be the Edison Day, or Champion, whatever you guys decide to call it, and the BVLA, and possibly we'll use some of the spaces for storage space, because we'll need some of the space where your stuff is over at the Huntington building to probably move over to the Adult Learning Center for all your backpacks and everything. So
it's a small amount, so we don't even need that much room.
But that room we'll use over at the Huntington building, for, again, the IT department is going to occupy the whole bottom floor pretty much.
Mr. Vega, follow up, please.
So, sorry, to answer your question, we can look at possibly an office space at the Adult Learning Center once we make all the moves and see what's available, but we don't know yet.
Just to be clear, it's not about doubting Dr. Cobbs. My position on our role is budget, policy, and oversight for Dr. Cobbs. So I don't necessarily reach past Dr. Cobbs, but then also there comes accountability with that as well. If we're confidently hearing that we can get this done, if Vice Chair feels like we can get this done, I don't see why the two programs can't coexist. Unless there's something I'm missing about the Adult Learning Center. If it moves to Goddard, is there not still space for the program that we saw today with Lenny to also be there? Oh, it's not. It's not. Even with once the second floor is renovated.
Right. Well, again, I had Dr. DeBarros and Mr. and the Adult Learning Center staffer go walk through the building together with Lenny, and they felt that the three together, there just wasn't going to be enough space for them. So obviously we have to accommodate the schools.
Any other questions at this time? Mrs. Sullivan, please.
Because the program, the Sabura program, and the Adult Learning Center programs kind of resemble each other. So I don't see why we can't work together to.
So we will have some of those programs with the community schools and the Adult Learning Center, and mainly it's ESOL programs for the adults that certainly we can accommodate those at the Goddard. That's what they'll be for.
Right, because they're both kind of doing the same thing
And like I
anyway.
said, we can offer those programs that back at the high school, they were in the red building when I was
Yep.
the principal at the Edison Academy. For many couple of years that I was there, they would come in the front door and go up to the red building and use for the
Yes.
ESOL classes there as well.
Thank you.
So we can offer those to Lenny, and we'll figure out how to accommodate her. We're not just kicking it to the curb. I like Lenny a lot. I mean, we've worked over the years on a lot of different things, and I know what she does, and we're going to do our best to accommodate her.
Yeah, I agree, yeah. Yeah.
Any other comments or questions relative to Goddard? Seeing none, what is the will of the committee? Is there a motion relative to the Goddard?
Motion to move the Goddard. Move.
Move the community schools and
The
adult
community
learning
schools and the adult learning center
to the Goddard.
to the Goddard School.
That's the form of a motion. Is there a second on that motion? Is there a second? Okay. Motion was made by Mrs. Sullivan. It's properly seconded by Mr. Sullivan. All in favor, raise your hands. All opposed, raise your hands. So that does pass. And again, that was unanimous, 8-0. With the caveat on that we will work with Sabora. That's the caveat on that.
Absolutely.
Now we have Dr. Cobb's ALC Payne.
So the next move is the Edison Day, which really was never affiliated with Edison Academy, Evening Academy at all. That was the goal, was to, when originally the decision by my predecessor was to take the whole green building and make that part of the whole Edison Day evening program, which never came to fruition. So it's called Edison Day, but that's just in name only. So that was a champion program that was champion schools, not a program, it's a school that was moved to the third floor of the high school. So the plan is to move them to the Adult Learning Center because it's a huge school building that, and again, if you're concerned about growth for the program, it gives them room to grow and expand. And the BVLA will move out of the green building at the high school as well and move to the Adult Learning Center, the Payne building.
Thank you, Dr. Cobbs. Any questions for Dr. Cobbs relative to ALC Payne? Seeing none, is there a motion? What is the will of the committee at this time? Is there a motion?
I make a motion to,
Is this move, I know Mrs. Azak brought up so we put the Jones building on hold, but she made the recommendation to move the program from the green building back to the Jones building, so I think that affects this move as well.
Form of a motion, Mr. Chair. Want to postpone that to Wednesday night?
Motion to postpone the ALC Payne move as well until we vet out
The Edison Day move, the BVLA move.
Edison Day and the
BVLA.
Okay. Vice Chair's made a motion to postpone ALC Payne until next Wednesday night special school committee agenda. Is there a second on that?
Second it.
Motion was made by Vice Chair, probably second by Ms. Ola. All in favor, kindly raise your hand. If you oppose, raise your hand. It passes unanimous. We will postpone that. It will be on Wednesday night's agenda next week.
So the next move is the school psychologists that are currently at North. Sharon, you want to help walk through this one? Please. Okay, take your time. We're going to be here all night.
Right. That's right.
So, Karen, you might as well go up there too, because you're going to be up next with the Arnone and the George and those moves. So we're at North School Psychologist, the BCAT temporary location.
So as we talked about in a previous meeting, the BCAT 2 team that is currently there, remember the BCAT team is for our early education, so that's for our evaluating our pre-K students, and the North location was a temporary location because they were brought on very recently, and it was the space we had available to put a team. So they weren't intended to stay there, and that's why you see we intend to move them to the Arnone and not leave them in the North location. We are looking at moving the school psychologist to that room in North that is currently where we have the BCAT located. And we are working to move into Central our community facilitators and liaisons as working with Kelly Jones, and she has really encouraged the original space that we thought they would be able to go into with our Parent Information Center is not going to be available to us, but we wanted to bring them more centrally located. And based on the space availability inside of Central, it made sense to bring our facilitators back to Central. Our school psychologists need a desk to do reporting, and if they have to test a child outside of a school, to have a place for a child to come for that testing. And so that location in North that it will remain available is appropriate for what they need. I need you to hear me say, because I know you don't want to hear anything about more moves, but our ultimate goal is for our school psychologist to be in a school that they are assigned to do their testing. We are not there yet, and we are short the number of psychologists that we would need to have every school have one, and so they share schools, and ultimately at some point it wouldn't even be a conversation for you. It would be they have a home and they go home to the school that they are assigned to. So as we look at finding a location for them, this is not as significant as finding a location. To them it feels significant because they need a place to hang their hats. For us, what is most significant is for our schools to have homes. And so this particular move would just get them into a place to hang their hats while we're looking for a point at which we have enough of them so they can be assigned to a school. We have one assigned to Brockton High School now that stays in Brockton High School. And so school psychologists play a significant role in this district. And you heard Dr. LaBille a while ago present to you the number we are supposed to have based on the size of our population versus the number we do have. So they would be moving there, and our facilitators, those who are supporting our families with communication and support and accessing resources, we would look to move them back into Central.
Any questions for the Deputy Superintendent at this time? So will the committee relative to this matter?
I can't hear it. Motion to approve the move of school psychologist, BCAT, to North Middle School.
Form of a motion made by Vice Chair, probably second by Mr. Vega.
BCAT is moving out of North. You said BCAT, they're moving out of.
Oh, they're moving. I'm
Yes.
sorry.
They're moving out there, yep,
Yep.
okay. So it was made by the Vice Chair, it was probably second by Mr. Vega. All in favor, kindly raise your hand. All opposed, raise your hand. It passes unanimous 8-0. Thank you.
Okay, the next one is the Arnone BCAT Team 2. The current use their pre-K classroom. So I'll let Dr. Spalding, you want to take that one? Now we're not moving schools, but we start moving classrooms, so that's why in the elementary school classroom.
So the proposal would be to move 2 of the pre-K classrooms from the Arnone to the George School. And then the BCAT 2 team would move into one of those spaces, and the other space would be freed up, which is necessary to do some shifting around with classrooms at the Arnone.
Thank you. Any questions relative to that? Seeing none, what is the will of the committee? I entertain a motion, please.
That are known.
Motion was, she beat you there, Claudio. Motion was made by Ms. Olive, properly second by Ms. Azak. All in favor, kindly raise your hand. All opposed, raise your hand. It passes unanimous 8-0.
Okay, next one again, Dr. Spalding, the George 2 pre-K classrooms from Arnone.
So that's part of the same package. So the two pre-K classrooms from the Arnone would move into the George, which frees up the space to put the BCAT 2 team here.
Any questions? Will of the committee?
Motion to move 2 pre-K classes from Arnone to George.
Second. Motion was made by Ms. Oliver, probably seconded by Mr. Gomes. All in favor, kindly raise your hand. All opposed, raise your hand. Passes 8-0. I do believe the BHS one coming before us would be relative to the ALC pain that we just did.
Right, and the Edison Day, so
Yep.
we have to, it'll be hold till next
So
round.
we should entertain a motion on the BHS proposal facilities. We should postpone that until Wednesday night as well. Is there a motion? Mhm.
Brockton High School location vote.
Till next Wednesday, okay. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion was made by Mrs. Sullivan, probably seconded by Mr. Gomes. All in favor, kindly raise your hand. All opposed, raise your hand. Passes 8-0. We will postpone that matter until next week's special school committee meeting.
And the last one, Sharon, Dr. Wolder, Deputy Wolder already talked about the community facilitators and liaisons moving to Central.
Will the committee on that? Any questions, first of all?
I'd like to make a motion
Okay.
to move the community facilitators and
Liaisons. Liaisons, I got you.
liaisons.
It's getting late. I
Central.
understand, Mr. Sullivan. I understand. Motion was made by Mr. Sullivan. Is there a second?
Second.
Oh, that was a tie. I'm going to go to Ms. Azak. Mr. Sullivan made the motion, probably seconded by Ms. Azak. All in favor, kindly raise your hand. All opposed, raise your hand. Does pass 8-0. And again, the matters that we discussed tonight that were postponed, you will see them on the agenda that the vice chair and I will work with Attorney Spotterfoot, and we'll get that out. But again, it's next Wednesday.
So did you say you wanted to hold the job postings until next meeting as well for anticipated positions?
I believe so. Don't you concur with that, Vice Chair? The next agenda item, we want to hear that on Wednesday night, job postings for anticipated positions.
Yes, the added list, I mean, the vacancies, I mean, I don't know.
Those are the fills that we need to.
Do we, I think, Trish, if you can check, I mean, if the funding source is already there and.
That's the 5 million versus 11 million.
The 11 million, so I think
Yeah.
my is to move forward with those postings because, you know, we haven't done that in quite some time and there's, you know, interview process and job ads and we need to start hiring.
Trish, relative to that, the jobs that we're discussing for the 5 million, number one, is the funding source complete 100%?
Yes.
For FY '25?
Yes, so the funding source is there for '24. A lot of those positions had been advertised but had not been filled, so some had remained vacant. Some were filled with long-term subs and things like that. So it's just a matter of carrying those same positions into the FY '25 budget.
But that 5 million is already being projected in the FY '25 budget?
Yes, yes.
The one that Dr. Cobb's and cabinet has been working with TJ and yourself?
Yes.
Okay, and the CFO's aware of that? The city CFO?
Yes, he is.
Okay. Question, Vice Chair, please?
On those vacancies, are those primarily for classroom or do those include custodial staff, secretaries? Like, what does that 5 million
They're
cover?
mostly classroom teachers that we did not hire for this year because, again, like Trish said, we had long-term subs or paraprofessionals in the classroom. So we have to replace those people with certified teachers.
Okay. Okay, just my opinion on, I think any positions that doesn't support the classroom should be put on hold, a pause until we have a meeting just to make sure, clarify this 11 million to see what those positions are.
Yeah, I'll discuss it 11 million just briefly tonight, but we'll go into more depth next week.
I don't want to get into, I understand right now we have a projected number that we can work with, but we have to also plan out for FY '26 and '27.
That's right.
Right.
So we don't want to go into this hiring frenzy and the next thing you know, we're back to laying people off. So I'd rather have the focus on the classroom and supporting the students than hiring. Nothing against the custodial staff and support, but that's where my focus on making sure that these kids have an educator in front of them.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Chair. Any other comments or questions to Ms. Boyer at this time? Trish, I just have a question. So vacancies projected about $5 million, right? So the postings go out. The postings are going to be, interviews and eventually filled, right? But again, that 5 million, was that part of the 10 million that was frozen to satisfy 24?
No.
Okay, so that 5 million is going to be carried and put into the next projection for 25. that this committee, much like we just did for school committee, this committee will have to accept that as a priority and then put that forward to the city council to vote on in June.
Yes, that's correct. And out of those vacancies, 4.7 million is coming from the local budget. The rest of it's coming out of grant funds or non-net school spending.
How much is coming out of the non-net?
520,000.
Okay. And again, this has already been reviewed by the city CFO. Okay. Any other questions from the committee? Mr. Gomes, please.
Could we have a list of the ones that will be posted with the price? Because I know
That's the one
this
we gave you
incorporate-
last week, pretty much all the ones that were on that list that we gave you last week.
It only has the ones that will be posting?
Right.
With the 200-something position?
Yeah, that's the position, that's the list that we gave you, right? So.
Okay. So this one is just everything that we need, but
Yeah,
the other one is...
that's the ad list, that we'll talk
Okay.
about a little bit. Yep, that's correct.
Any other questions for Ms. Boyer or Dr. Cobbs at this time? No? It's the will of the committee.
I'll make a motion to approve the current vacancies,
Just the fills that we didn't
just the
fill.
fills that we didn't fill to move forward with
That's
those
on the
job
fill
postings
list.
and hiring on that end, which equates to 5.2 million.
Just want to read into the record, again, Troy is still at City Hall, but I asked him about this, and he said, I asked him if the 5 million is in the budget. He said it all depends on how it's counted. 5 million could certainly be in there if they spend it accordingly. I'd like to see the total proposed salary appropriations for next year and how that figures into the 5 million. So again, not to be Debbie Downer, but is there any urgency, in your opinion, Trish or Dr. Cobbs, if we just held this to Wednesday?
Yes,
That way,
there is. We need
what's
to get the job
urgency?
position posted. We've held up long enough. We have to the 15th.
Well, I
by
want
the
to know if
union
the 5
contract.
million bucks are there, Jim.
It's
That's what I wanna
in the
know.
teacher salaries. It's part of the teacher salaries, which is like $190 million. That's most of the school budget.
Yeah, but there's also 500 grand you just said on non-net, right? I just want to make sure that's why we're in this situation in the first place, so. You're confident in your professional opinion, we're good on that? Okay.
Yes.
Ms. Vice Chair?
Motion to approve the current vacancies to be posted and let Dr. Cobbs and HR hire, and then we'll factor this in when we're constructing the budget as well.
Second.
I put a caveat on that, not to exceed whatever the 5 million.
Not to
I think
exceed the
is.
5.2 million.
Motion was made by the Vice Chair, was properly seconded by Mr. Gomes. Did you have a question on the motion? Motion was made, it was properly seconded on, I'll just call the roll. Mrs. Sullivan?
Yes.
Mr. Gomes?
Yes.
Ms. Oliver?
Yes.
Ms. Vega?
Yes.
Vice Chair?
Yes.
Ms. Azak?
Yes.
Mr. Sullivan?
Yes.
I'm a yes as well. That passes. Unanimous, 8-0.
Okay, so that's position. So I do want to add to the unfinished business, when I presented the changes to the transportation, that's inclusive in that $18 million for the non-net school spending. You didn't take a vote on it last time. And that was a proposal to lease the buses and hire the additional drivers with the total non-net staying at $18 million. So that's, again, you got a copy of that proposal, the presentation for that.
I thought we were waiting on more information after that meeting. I don't recollect.
Yeah, I don't recall being asked for any additional information, because again, it's rolled into the $18 million non-net, so it won't exceed that budget.
Members of the committee, it's not on the agenda, so we can't vote on it tonight,
Okay.
but what we can do is work with Dr. Cobbs and the attorney and put it on the agenda Wednesday night.
Yeah.
But we just can't violate Robert's rules in anything relative to that. So since it's not posted, the general public wouldn't be aware of that, so we can't vote on that tonight.
Okay.
Attorney Spotterford, do you concur with that? Thank you.
Okay, that's all I have for the unfinished business, then I guess we're into the new business. But I just, if I could, go ahead. Grace.
Finished.
Yes.
Did we get the yonder bags?
Yes,
They're in? Has the
Yes.
training happened?
it's ongoing.
Okay, just making sure. Thank you.
Just on unfinished again, we're going to have a pretty lengthy agenda for next Wednesday, but the add-on list that we were all given tonight, that will be incorporated into that agenda as well, so we can discuss that. Trish will be here, TJ will be on, and then again, Mr. Clarkson will be on. So.
I think Dr. LaBilloway will be back by then as
Good.
well. He's out on vacation, so
Good.
that you can see a lot of these are special education positions to fill. I know we're going to go to new business and talk about the interim superintendent, but I just want to add something to new business that I need to, you guys, I don't know if you can vote on tonight because it's not on the agenda, but I needed to talk about the Huntington Parade and have you guys take a vote at some point, because, you know.
Definitely add that to Wednesday's
Yeah,
agenda again.
but I just want to introduce what's going on with it, because, again, as a cabinet, we discussed this numerous times and went back and forth, and a decision was made, and I made the decision to not put on the Huntington Parade this year for a number of reasons. And one is that there's no Huntington school right now. The school is empty. Two, the price tag to do it was, I think Moses Rodriguez put $125,000 price tag on it. Again, that's 2 teachers. The other thing is, you know, we logistically, to try to plan the parade, we, you know, there's no time and there's no, you know, and they also will have to pay for police details and fire details. But I just wanted to bring it to your attention so you can deliberate and debate and then make a vote on it one way or the other. Because I know some of you are getting pressure from city councilors and elected officials to put the parade on. And part of the argument was those are the kids that went to the Gilmore, and it's the Huntington Gilmore, but those students have graduated out of Gilmore. There's no affiliation to the Huntington right now with the Gilmore anymore. So it's something you need to put on your agenda and talk about and take a vote publicly for people to chime in on, because, you know, there's 2 sides of the coin, but it's an expense that, you know, when we made the decision, at the time, we were facing a $25 million budget deficit for this school year and potentially $25 million for next school year. And to go and put on a parade was, and I was vilified in front of the city council on details and police and crossing guards and those kind of things.
We
and paying the
gotta
money.
stay, it's not on the agenda.
But
I'm not trying to be rude, but we can't talk about it. We'll put it on Wednesday's agenda, but it's not on the agenda. So we shouldn't be discussing it now. But one thing that the vice chair and I asked is we were hoping to get a hard dollar amount from BPS on what it actually costs. I think the council president just came up with that figure. I don't think the 125 grand is accurate, but we will put this on Wednesday's agenda. We can talk it as a collective group. Okay?
So I'd appreciate you take a vote on it one way or the other and decide. We can present more information next time, but that's where we're at with it.
Thank you, Dr. Cobbs, and that will be on the agenda as well. We'll go to number 6, which is new business, discussion and potential vote, posting of interim superintendent, designation of interim superintendent search committee, search subcommittee, and I know Attorney Spotterfoot is here. If you had any questions for the attorney as well, she's pretty well versed in process and procedure for BPS, but also school districts throughout the Commonwealth. Sarah, thanks for being here tonight.
Hi, everybody. So I think this was just anticipating there may be a continuing need to have someone in an interim role for superintendent going into next year. And the potential vote of the committee would be to do a full search for that role and designate a subcommittee. That is the typical practice, is you designate a subcommittee to craft the posting and then evaluate the candidates, bringing the finalists before the full body. Has to be at least 2, ideally 3 finalists before the full body for an interview, public interview process and selection. The reason we're bringing it before you now is because given where we are in the school year, ideally you'd want someone to start over the summer or however you want to pose the process. So happy to answer any questions if anyone has any.
Any questions for Attorney Spotterfoot? I'll start with Ms. Azak, please.
So are we going to designate a search committee this evening?
A subcommittee.
A subcommittee?
Yes.
Okay.
But we also want to go to record, this does not prohibit anybody, such as Dr. Cobbs, from applying. I just want people to be clear on that, and this is not a slight to Dr. Cobbs in any way. But again, if we post it by the recommendations from the attorneys, you have to create a subcommittee of this body, correct? So that would have to happen.
Okay.
Mr. Sullivan, followed by Vice Chair, please.
The only thing is if there's going to be a subcommittee, it needs to be done fairly and equally to all members here. So that needs to be done fairly, and everybody needs to be represented equally. Thank you.
Mr. Vice Chair, please.
So, I mean, speaking about the search subcommittee, I spoke to the mayor. I spoke to 2 members. My recommendation is to,
I don't think we're there yet. We have to take a vote if we choose to post. Correct, Attorney?
Correct.
Okay.
so I'm
That's
just,
right.
Any questions for Sarah relative to the matters before us tonight? What is the will of the committee?
motion to post the interim superintendents to expand it. And just to, on the motion, you know, we've had a meeting with Dr. This is nothing against Dr. Cobbs. We didn't anticipate what we're dealing with right now. And it looks from what's going on that we will need somebody for the whole school year next year to be in that interim role. It could be sooner than that, but we've discussed this, and I think we need to broaden the search to see what's out there so we can make a collective agreement on the direction that this committee wants to move forward in.
So is that the form of a motion to post? Mr. Vice Chair, is that the form of a motion to post?
Yes.
Motion was made on the motion? On the motion, Mrs. Sullivan.
I just thought of a question that, is MASC going to help us with the search?
MASC offers that service at no additional charge to its members, so yes.
So we would follow the MASC procedure on looking for an interim superintendent?
They don't have a procedure. That's up to the committee to decide their own procedure. What they do is help facilitate the posting and coordinating candidates.
They have loads of material on interim superintendent search.
Not that I'm aware of. But I can certainly check with them. I'm not aware of any procedures they have. I have spoken to the director, Glenn Kuchar, about this, and he's happy to help facilitate the process. He suggested the search committee process, the subcommittee process.
Okay, so the subcommittee, who would decide on these 4 members?
We're not there yet. There's a motion to post it. If the motion passes and it posts, then we would have to go to the next step, which would be the subcommittee. But if the motion fails, there's no need to even designate a subcommittee because it wouldn't be posted.
Because like I say, I don't feel as though it has to be done equally and fairly. These committees and subcommittees are padded with certain people's friends, and this is a school committee, and everybody needs to be reflected fairly
Okay.
in all subcommittees and all meetings. And these aren't subcommittees if they're committees of the whole. They're not subcommittees. A subcommittee is a portion of the committee. And if the committees of the whole, they're not subcommittees. So-
Thank you, Mrs. Sullivan.
You're welcome.
Okay, so there's a motion to post it. It was made by the vice chair. It was properly seconded by Ms. Oliver. So the matter comes before a vote right now. If you're in favor of posting it, kindly raise your hand. If you're opposed to posting it, raise your hand. So that passes unanimous 8-0. Now the matter comes, Attorney Spotify, because we've agreed to post it, that this collective body should designate a subcommittee member of 4, correct?
Yes, I would suggest this not be a committee of the whole, that it would be a subcommittee so you can meet in executive session. That is typically how it's done to vet the candidates. And then once you have because some candidates obviously value their privacy if they're not going to be advanced as a finalist in the process.
And usually it's the chair and the vice chair that serve, and then 2 other members, right?
Correct.
And then that 4 will whittle it down to whatever. And then
2 or 3.
And then it's presented to the body as a whole in public forum, and those 2, 3, 4 people are interviewed.
Correct.
Okay. So that's just the process. Mr. Vice Chair.
Some information, myself, the mayor and Sarah met with MASC, and we had a lengthy conversation. They will be assisting us in the search process, which would be a subcommittee of 4 members, which will also include our legal counsel and also a representative from the Human Resources Department once the applications do come in and we vet it out for the committee to do a formal interview process. So my recommendation, I spoke to the mayor earlier today. I spoke to 2 members. My recommendation, if the committee's will, is recommending Representative Vega and Representative Oliver to join myself and the mayor in the search committee.
What's the discussion relative to? Okay.
Again, he's putting his people in to.
What do you mean,
You
people?
can't say his people. Mr.
I
Vega.
think 5 minutes,
Yeah.
and I think what I made abundantly clear in my 5 minutes here is that I'm not part of any team. Like,
Yes.
I'm here for our kids.
Correct.
I'm here with the lens of an educator.
Correct.
I'm here with the lens of a school administrator. I'm only gonna make decisions based on my experience and what I think is appropriate for.
Thank you,
for
Mr. Vega. Thank you for
Thank you,
putting that
Mr.
on the
Vega.
record.
And, you know, just a point of
Okay.
information, Mr. Sullivan, please do not refer to us as his people, because this is one body. Like, this is a team effort, so please
Thank
do
you,
not
Mr.
refer
Vice
to
Chair.
us as
Yeah,
people.
Just wait, let me just explain this. We have to follow at all time Robert's rules. We have to, right? So you can't just speak. You have to be recognized by the chair. Not because I want to be an egomaniac, but that's what Robert Rules says. So please refrain from blurting out information until you're recognized, please. It's on TV, it would look much more professional. Mr. Vice Chair, did you have anything else to say?
No, that was my
Ms. Oliver, you
recommendation.
had your hand. I recognize you at this time, please.
I just have a comment.
Okay.
Do not label me, do not put me in a category. I know who I am, I know where I stand, I know my values and my morals, and I vote for myself. I'm 40-something years old. Nobody makes me vote one way or another, okay? And I'm not a child, and the fact is, if you want to put it out there, that I wasn't welcomed by Ms. Sullivan when I first started here, so let's not go there and tell me,
Let's-
people.
Please, ladies and gentlemen, let's just keep decorum again. I think the newest member just hit it on the head. We're here for the kids, and we, as adults, have to set the example. So duly recognized. I'm going to go to Mr. Gomes, followed by Mrs. Sullivan, followed by Ms. Azak. Mr. Gomes, the floor is yours, please.
Where should I begin?
Well,
I'm very patient. I'm very laid back. I'll say something when I have something to say. And, okay, this is, no. It's like we all said, and you said it, you said it, you said it, you said it. It's one body. And I should feel comfortable if these 4 go in there to represent us, that they will represent us. And that they will work on behalf of the students. Okay? It doesn't matter who it is. It could be by suggestion, by recommendation, but we should all feel comfortable, I would imagine, for someone of this body to go and represent the whole body. It's not always possible for everybody to be incorporated in everything that takes place. That is extreme. And with that, I would also like to ask, is there a way, if multiple members want to be, I'm fine with the 4 of you guys. I don't mind. I'm super busy. There are people here that have more time in their hands to me do all these interviews, so on and so forth. I believe they're capable of coming back and relying those information to us. I'm fine with that. But if it becomes the case that there's multiple members that want to be part of this subcommittee, is there a way of us nominating and voting those 2 additional members to accompany you and Vice Chair to this subcommittee?
I would be to the attorney.
So is the question whether or not the body could nominate 2 additional?
Yeah, if there's
So it would be a
multiple-
total of 6 or a total of
No,
4?
no, 4. But if
Oh,
there's
okay.
multiple people that want to be, if they don't agree with this recommendation,
Sure.
could these people say, I want to be, and then the whole body could vote? So then it's a fair vote, and
Technically, under school committee policy, it's the chair's decision who's on subcommittees. I
Okay.
think the practice of the body has been
To
to
work with the
vote
vice
on
chair, always has
subcommittees
been,
and
yeah.
work with the vice chair. So I think the practice has typically been the vice chair puts forward a nomination or a suggestion for the slate, and the body votes. But I don't see any reason why, if there's someone who wants
Okay.
to make a different nomination, that could be considered by the body.
okay. I mean, it's fine by me. I do agree with the recommendation. But if some people feel it's unfair, that's the only best solution I could think of, to accommodate. There's no teams here, like Mr. Vega said. we're here for the same reasons with the same purposes. So,
Thank you, Mr. Gomes. I can't remember who else I recognized after Mr. Gomes. I'm sorry, Mrs. Sullivan, followed by Ms. Azak.
If it was done fairly and equally, there wouldn't be a problem with any members, okay? If a member has a problem, then that person sees that certain people that have been on this committee for years are being slighted. On these subcommittees, you can count up how many people are on these subcommittees and how many people are chairs of them. And there's certain members that are slighted every time and slighted in this process now. Okay? So, if everything was done fairly and equally, there wouldn't be any problem. I was changed from what Kathy Ellis put me on here to another member that's been on it every year on school police contract. That is not fairly and equal. If it's done to you, you would have said something too. So, thank you.
Yeah, this isn't before us right now. What's before us is if this body, 8 of us, want to designate the chair, the vice chair, and 2 members to serve as a subcommittee of this body for purposes, strict purposes of interviewing candidates that apply for the interim position. That's the only thing that's before us right now. So again, I did have a conversation, I confirm I did have a conversation with the vice chair today, much like I did with Vice Chair Azak, Vice Chair Ehlers, Vice Chair D'Agostino. I like the fact that Jorge is an educator. I also like the fact that he's brand new and he's coming at a kind of a unjaded lens. I personally think that that's a good thing. I also know he said has the time, because this is going to take a lot of time, ladies and gentlemen. So if you don't have the time, you should withdraw your name. But really, what's before us right now is just for us to elect among our bodies 4 people that are going to represent the body for purpose of vetting out. That's it. And then when the final people come before us, it's the entire body. And the entire body, all 8 members have 1 vote each to determine who would be that position. That's what it comes down to. So, anybody, Ms. Azak, I'm sorry, Ms. Sullivan, do you have any follow-ups?
Yes.
Okay.
But the subcommittees come into play here because it's the same thing, that it's not being done fairly and equally, that certain people are slighted. There's long-time members on this committee that are being slighted. And I will not stand for it not being done fairly and equally.
What I will pledge as the chair, anybody that feels that they're slighted, you could have a meeting with me and the vice chair. You could have a meeting with me. We could do whatever. But really what's before us right now is not this. It's what I just explained. It's unique. It's probably happened in the past, but this is a unique experience in 2024 that we have to create a one-time subcommittee for a specific purpose. Any last thoughts relative to that? Ms. Azak, please.
Thank you. Actually, Mr. Gomes had touched base on it, and so did you, Mayor. Mrs. Sullivan, I expressed interest, and I wasn't chosen. So I'm comfortable with the members that have been chosen. They're gonna just vet out the candidates, but we will have the final say. We will be able to meet with the final candidates. So, I mean, we can't, to do it fairly, it's only 2 positions, and there's 7 of us. So unfortunately, well, I wanted it myself and I wasn't chosen. So I'm comfortable with the members that have been chosen. We just need to, we have a lot of work ahead of us. We gotta work together. There's a lot of work ahead of us right now. So I'm comfortable with the decision. Mr. Vega just started. He's bringing in a new perspective, and then
He doesn't have a nameplate. We got to get the guy a nameplate, for God's sakes.
I know,
Jesus.
so, but that was it. I just wanted, a couple of you had touched base on what I wanted to comment on. So, again, not all of us that expressed interest
Correct.
were chosen.
Correct.
So it's
Correct.
only 2
Correct.
positions.
Correct.
Thank you.
Mr. Gomes, followed by Mr. Vega.
if it makes you feel any better, also express interest. I wasn't chosen, but I'm not butthurt. It's fine.
Never chosen. You're chosen for things. I'm never chosen. That's the difference, okay?
I'm going to call the vote,
But
Mr. Chair, in a minute.
we shouldn't let this delay the process either way. So can we vote on the 4 members that were nominated, or should we find a solution? Because if we keep going back and forth, it's not going to.
So it was not a nomination, it was a recommendation by the chair. So before we I'm going to call a motion before we do that. I know Dr. Cops wanted to say something, and I think Mr. Vega, you had a follow-up. We'll go to you first.
I just wanted to make it clear that my response to Ms. Sullivan, it wasn't a response to Ms. Sullivan. It's just wanting whoever's listening here or watching here to know, like I said when I first came on, is that I'm an independent thinker, and I focus on experience. So I want to say, because I've also benefited from time and effort that Ms. Sullivan's put into helping me get on board as a new member. So my comment was not directed at Ms. Sullivan so much as letting everybody know that you can trust that that I'm going to be working in that capacity. Having said that, if we wanted to put it to a vote, I would not be offended by that either. So just put it out there.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Dr. Cops, please.
So I'd just like to say that, why is it limited to 4? Because it's an even number, because if you have a deadlock, 2 and 2, why not have a 5th member? So there's an odd number for votes.
Attorney Spotterfoot?
We have other subcommittees that have 5 people.
Attorney Spotterfoot?
Then it becomes a meeting of the school committee, if you have a quorum of the school committee.
Okay. I'm gonna, as the chair, I'm gonna call right now, if there's a motion relative to creating a 4-member subcommittee, 2 of the members would be the chair and the vice chair. Is there a motion?
Motion to create a 4-member subcommittee of Mayor Robert Sullivan, Vice Chair Tony Rodriguez, Anna Oliver, and Jorge Vega. For the purpose of selecting applicants for the interim position of superintendent of schools.
Correct.
Second.
That was the form of a motion by Mr. Gomes, properly seconded by Ms. Azak. Motion was duly seconded. I'll just call the roll. Ms. Sullivan?
No.
Mr. Gomes?
Yes.
Ms. Oliver?
Yes.
Mr. Vega?
Yes.
Vice Chair?
Yes.
Ms. Azak?
Yes.
Mr. Sullivan? And I'm a yes as well, so that does pass. So Anna Oliver, Jorge Vega, Vice Chair Tony Rodriguez, and myself will serve. And again, we will report back. We'll be working with HR to get it posted, and we'll be working with Attorney Spotterfoot and Mr. Kuchar at Mask. We will go on now. I do know Kevin McCaskill's here. Principal, I know Chief Perez had given an update. I didn't know if you wanted to give an update. Thank you, Kevin. We'll go on the record. Kevin McCaskill said all is well. Thank you, Principal. Really appreciate it. We're now going to go on to announcements. Number 8, Brockton High Musical, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. The wedding singer, it's coming up, right? So Friday, 7:30 p.m., Saturday, 7:30 p.m., and the Sunday show is at 6 p.m. Also this Friday, the New England Knockouts, the new professional baseball team, they have their home opener up at Campanelli Stadium. First pitch is at 6:30 this Friday night. Anna, please. Ms. Oliver, please.
I just want to recognize this week is Teachers Appreciation Week.
Yeah, it is.
Please do something for your educators, parents. Also, it's Nurses Week. So to all the great school nurses, I was a school nurse for 7 years. Thank you for all that you do in keeping our kids healthy. But definitely go out and do something for the school nurses and our educators in the school system. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Yep, Ms. Azak.
Just JROTC had their dining out gala, so a few of us were able to attend. It's always a wonderful event to attend every year. I look forward to it, so I just wanted to congratulate them on another successful year. And then we have we have our senior prom coming up. There's so much going on the next few weeks. Just stay safe, have fun, enjoy the end of the year. But hopefully we'll have an update from our student rep.
Anthony, yeah.
Yeah, Anthony,
He'll be
just so we
back.
see what's going on, but just wanted to just acknowledge some stuff that we have going on. Thank you.
Thank you. Before we conclude, so special school committee meeting next Wednesday night, which is May 15th. What was the time that we wanted to designate?
5 or 5:30?
30, right? But we usually go, like, we meet first at 5:30, then we go by 6 o'clock, so we might have to cancel it.
No, why don't we just do 7 o'clock? Does that work for the school committee? So again, it's not Tuesday, it's gonna be Wednesday. It will be here. Mrs. Campbell told me it will be in the Arnone. We'll have Zoom technology again, so please put that on, you'll be noticed. And Tony and I, the vice chair and I will work with Attorney Spotterfoot to get that squared away. Anything we talked about tonight postponed will be on the agenda. Troy Clarkson will be here, and Trish will be here. Anything else before us, Vice Chair?
I just want to recognize is the staff at South Middle School, Mr. Jim Stapleton, who invited myself, Mrs. Oliver, State Senator Brady, Representative Rita Mendez, a couple of community members that they honored into the Hall of Fame at South, and we also had the opportunity to meet with some of the students and have them ask us questions, and we asked them questions. So it was a great event, at South Middle School. So kudos to Jim Stapleton and his team and Principal Thompson on that.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
I'm saying Thompson.
Anything else before us tonight? Thank you for being here. I need a motion to adjourn, please. Motion was made by Mrs. Sullivan, properly seconded by Mr. Vega. All in favor? All opposed? Adjourn. Drive careful. Thank you very much. Meeting's